Hi everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the beautiful city of Overland Park, Kansas, where we've had real bad weather the past few weeks. I've been back 3 weeks from our trip. Haven't been able to get out and play any golf since I've been back. I'd like to welcome all the people from California, places like Mission Viejo, Anaheim, the home of Disneyland, Whittier. And also, I'd like to welcome the folks from the state of Washington, Oregon. We're going to have people from Montana, Wyoming, and getting a little closer to home, we'll have people from Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. And of course, quite a few people from Kansas. The next few days, we're going to be celebrating the 100th birthday of a very beautiful and lovely person by the name of Annie Swanson. She's going to be 100 years old, and she is the mother, the grandmother, the great-grandmother, the great-great-grandmother, and the great-great-great-grandmother, possibly, of many people that are going to be here. She's also the mother-in-law of a few of us, but I don't feel like calling her a mother-in-law because mother-in-laws have a tendency to tell you how to run your life and how to raise your children. We all know that. It's not true in a lot of cases, but Grandma doesn't seem like a mother-in-law to me. She seems more like a mother, but I call her Grandma. There will be a few friends here, but as you know, when you reach 100 years old, you can have a tendency to outlive your friend. So most of the friends that'll be here will be considerably younger than Grandma. I remember an incident that happened one time down on Mackey. We had all the relation over for dinner one time, and I had built a basketball goal out on the patio for the boys, and they were out there practicing. And I looked over, and Grandma was looking out the window and watching them practice. So I didn't pay much attention to it, so I turned around and after a while I looked back and Grandma was gone. I looked and there she was out on the patio with that basketball, dribbling that thing around and shooting baskets out there. So I opened the door and I said, "Grandma, what are you doing?" And she says, "I just wanted to see if I could do it." So I told her, I said, "You better get in here or those girls are going to get you." We all know who the girls are. That's Alice, Kay, and Betty, and they are the angels that watch over Grandma. So that's the quality of grandmother you have, and she has plenty of spunk, and she has plenty of true grit, and she'll try anything once. I could stand up here and tell you a lot of stories about Grandma because I've been in the family for over 40 years. But I'll tell you what, let's go in the next room and let Grandma do the talking. Here in Overland Park, yesterday was a fine day, but today it just seems like the sun doesn't want to come out. Now, what you're looking at up there is Grandma's bedroom. That's where she spends most of her time. Those two windows is what she looks out of to see if the girls are coming. She looks down and she can see a form of a car. She did this for a long time before we found out what was going on. She would come down and says, "Is Alice or Betty here?" And come to find out, she was looking out that window and she could see the car come up. We kind of wondered how she knew that. So that's where Grandma lived, right up there. This is the window that Grandma looks out of to see the cars down below. She doesn't see too good, but you can see that she can probably make out the forms of the cars, and she knows who's coming up down there. and down about 15 to 20 times a day. And it's how she gets her exercise. Also, Alice and Dick gets a little exercise too. So all I can say, if you want to live to be 100, walk up and down those stairs and quit riding the escalators. Good morning, Grandma. How are you this morning?
Oh, just fine, thanks. And you?
Well, I made it over here. That's about all I can say.
Uh,
What do you got to say for yourself, anyhow?
Well, first I wanted to say thank you to my children for the wonderful care they've given me these many years. It's been wonderful. They've taken me with them vacationing, and I remember one time when I was with Alice and Dina Howard down at Bull Shoals, and we started up the lake in a boat, and directly Alice looked back and said, "Oh, Mama's got a fish on her line." And sure enough, it was a great big long fish. She commenced to reeling it in because I couldn't. Anyway, the fish come in faster than the reel.
What? Go ahead.
They was afraid it was going to get hooked around the, the leg of the engine or whatever you call it. But anyway, he didn't. He gave one big jump and was gone. So he got away from us.
Well, that's too bad. How big do you think he was?
Oh, he looked like he was about so big. Anyway, I thought that was a pretty good-sized fish.
Well, that's a great fish story.
Yeah. Then another time, I went with Kay and Chet down to the Lake of the Ozarks, down to the dam. And it's kind of late in the afternoon when we got there. And I heard some kind of a noise. I thought it was water running, but it just kept on. And even at 9 o'clock, I said, "Well, don't they ever shut the water off down here?" And Chet says, "That's not water." "Oh, what is it?" He said, "It's locusts." And I think the trees must have been loaded, and every bush and every blade of grass must have had all locusts on it. They really made a noise.
I'll be darned. That was at Bull Shoals?
No, down at the Lake of the Ozarks at the dam.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So.
Well, now, I wonder if you could tell us, Grandma, about where you were born and how and what the conditions were at that time. You know, what the things were in the world, you know, and stuff like that. Can you tell us something about that?
Well, I was born in Lawrence, Kansas, and the folks lived out on a farm, and that was the only kind of work, as far as I know, going on as farm work. And there's a lot of boys and men, I guess, that didn't have much work. I don't know how long we lived on the farm, but I was about 4 years old when we moved to Clay County, Missouri. And the farmers down there, well, it was clearing. They did a lot of clearing, and they had sawmills.
Uh-huh.
And they had what they called wood choppings at different places, and they'd chop up saw and chop up wood enough to last for maybe a year or two at different places.
Well, that was a lot of chopping, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of men that come from the neighbors come in, and usually the women would have a quilt or two in the frames, and so the women would quilt and the men would chop wood. So,
what was your job at that time? Of course, you were only 4 years old.
well, I was a little bit older then, but I washed the dishes and I carried in the wood and kindling, things like that. So it wasn't very much. But I wasn't very tall, so I had to stand on a box to reach up into the dishpan.
How old were you when you started school?
I was about 7, because I had the whooping cough when I was 6 years old, and I went into chills, kind of an ague, and I chilled for ever so long. And I was still chilling when school started in the fall, so I didn't go to school that year. I missed that 6 year school.
Well, who were you staying with over there? Was that your folks?
I was staying with foster parents.
Oh, foster parents. Okay. How did you get to school in those days? Did you have to walk?
Oh, yes. That was 1.5 miles there.
Mile and a half, and you walked to
Yeah.
school and from?
Yeah.
Did you ever ride a horse to school?
No, I never did. Only one time when it was raining hard, Uncle come after me, and I rode home with him. Otherwise, we walked all the time.
How about horse and buggy? Did you do much of that?
Huh?
Horse and buggy? Did you ride a horse and buggy at all?
Spring wagon. We didn't have a buggy. We rode in a spring wagon.
Spring wagon, huh?
But I rode behind the Aunt Annie was in the saddle, and I rode behind with my arm around her to hold on.
Oh, I see.
Well, they rode double those days.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of subjects did you have in school in those days? This was back now in about 1890, wasn't it, or something like that?
What kind of what?
1890. This was when you were going to school.
Yes.
And what kind of subjects did you have, like reading and?
Well, we had the Franklin readers.
Yeah.
First, second, books up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had the first and second arithmetics, first and second geographies, physiology, language, and into the high school we had civil government and something else.
How about American history?
Yeah, we had the Civil War history. We had the history of Daniel Boone.
What kind of schools were they? Were they big schools or little or?
Well, in one school there was about 33 students in that, and I went to 3 different schools, and in the other 2, I think there must have been 18 or 20 scholars.
Is that what they called them, scholars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then you went to school. Were the schools 8 grades in those days?
School was
8 grades? Did they have 8 grades?
No, they went by, like I say, first, second, and third, fourth, fifth readers.
Oh.
First and second geography, first and second arithmetic, and so on. History.
Okay.
Civil government.
About how many grades did you go to? Do you remember?
I was up in civil government.
What's that? About 7th or 8th grade, or?
Up in the high school.
High school.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then after you got out of high school, what happened? I mean, did you meet somebody, or when did you meet Martin?
Well, I had been in Oklahoma, and when I was 15 years old, I left the folks that I lived with and went to live with my father and my older sister. And then we went to Oklahoma, and I didn't stay there very long. I come back to my mother in Lecompton. And I got there one Monday morning, and the next Sunday, Mr. Martin knew Mr. Mansfield and Mama, and he came up to Lecompton, and I met him then.
Where's Lecompton?
About 10 miles west of Lawrence.
Oh, in Kansas.
Yeah.
How long had he been over here? I knew he'd come from the old country, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think he'd been over about, I don't know just how many years.
Okay.
Maybe 12 or 15.
How long did you guys go together before you got married?
Oh, not too long.
Well, okay. You want to tell us any more about Martin or anything?
Well, he was just, he was a good worker. He was on public works. He helped put in all of the streets and the paved streets, and he worked on the KU buildings up there. He drilled the stones for these window ledges and door ledges, and there was 2 men that worked on those and made them smooth. He put in so many holes or drills.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 16-pound drill. It went up high, and he pound that down, and make a hole in the rock. Then he put little pieces of metal in there with something in the center and pound all of them, and that split the stone, make it about legs for a window ledge and doors. Now, he worked on nearly all of those buildings at KU except the first one where the classes were.
Well, he must have been quite a stonemason then, wasn't he?
Well, he knew stone. Yeah, he could drill those stones. Then they could put in big loads out in those big stone quarries.
Okay, you guys then, you got married, you and Martin, and how many children did you have?
8.
8 children.
Yeah.
Okay, can you name them right down the line?
Carl and Arthur, Alice, Oscar, Catherine, Jim, Selma, and Betty.
8 children, huh? Okay, did you have much trouble raising your kids? I mean, where were you at that time?
Well, we lived in Lawrence, so we had one certain...
You lived in Lawrence?
Yeah. We lived in Lawrence all our lives till just the last few years. We was out on the farm 4 years. And then we went to Wichita, and my husband passed away in 1928 on the 29th day of December.
Well, can you remember anything about raising your children? Did you have any big troubles, or
No.
Of course, you didn't have the medical facilities in those days. How hard was it to raise your children?
Well, they all got along real well, and I didn't have too much troubles for that matter. So.
Okay. How about the different places you've lived? You say you lived in Lawrence most of the time, went to Wichita.
And we lived out on a farm 4 years. Then we come back into town and lived 2 years in town. Then we went to Wichita. And my husband died there.
Okay, after your husband died, what happened to you then? The children were pretty old then, weren't they?
I kept house for them, but I also worked. I worked for one woman for about 3 years, just housework. That was about all I knew anything about doing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a house engineer.
No. So anyway, just a little, I think Betty was about 12 years old when we went to Oregon. And I was up there a little bit more than a year.
Okay, this trip you took to Oregon, was that from Lawrence?
No, Wichita.
That was from Wichita. How did you get out there?
Went on bus.
By bus?
Uh-huh.
Well, this was in, what year was it?
I think it was 1932 or 3.
Oh, 32. Well, we had buses and everything then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, now, before they had automobiles and stuff, how did you travel?
Oh, by horse and wagon.
Horse and wagon? Did you ever travel in a covered wagon?
No. No. I saw plenty of them.
Yeah. Okay, now, I understand you have 2 or 3 sisters.
Yes, I was the youngest of 3.
Uh-huh. And what was the name of the other 2?
The oldest one was Mary, and the one between Mary and me was Jessie.
Okay, can you, and how about Maddie?
Maddie is a half-sister.
Okay.
She's youngest.
Did you get to see them very much in your younger days?
No, just about every 2 years I could see Mary. at a Smithville picnic. The Oddfellows Lodge, every 2 years in August, gave a picnic. And we'd go to that picnic, and there, because Mary and I was something like 20 miles apart, and we didn't get to go very much through there.
Yeah.
So, but we did get to see one another on these picnics. And one time we went to the folks got ready to go, and Annie fixed all of the food the day before. And I don't know what time of the night we got up, but I know we drove 9.5 miles to go into the picnic ground, and we went in just as the sun was rising. So we spent the day. But everybody carried a big dinner, and they spread their tablecloths on the ground, put all the food out. 3 or 4 people would serve dinner together. It was a big day.
How often did you do that?
About every 2 years for several years. I don't know just how long.
Well, that sounds great. Now, can you tell us, can you remember when women couldn't vote at all?
Oh, yes. Yes.
What did the women think in those days when they couldn't vote?
Well, I don't know what most of them thought. I just don't know what I didn't want my husband to vote for it. I didn't see any reason why there should have to be any voting on it. I just didn't see that. But I guess that's the way it had to be. I didn't see why the women were just as equal as the men. I didn't see why they had to vote to let the women vote. And I don't think so yet.
Well, what do you think about the women today with women's lib and all this?
Well, they're getting along. They're doing what they want to do. So.
Do you remember your first train that you saw?
Yes.
And that first kind, and your automobile, first automobile. Tell us about that first.
Well, the first automobile, a man by the name of Hutt had the first one that I knew of, but there was another one. I forget the name of the people there in Lawrence. There was 2 people had automobiles, and one Christmas, and there was snow on the ground. Well, we lived close to a big hill on a hillside, and the cars would go just up the hill, and down. They'd go so far they couldn't go any further. Here they come back down.
Just couldn't make it up the hill.
So anyway, Hutt, their daughter, they were taking some baskets to some people over north of us, and instead of going up the hill, they come in our place, and they got stuck in there. And I don't know how they got out, and I know Jimmy was just 3 weeks old, and it was bitter cold weather. Finally, Carl come in and said, "Mama, that girl out there is about to freeze." But goodness, I said, I didn't know there was one out there freezing. So she come in and stuck her feet in the oven to get warm. But finally, they got the car up on the road, and then they went on.
That's a good one. What did you think of these automobiles when they first come out? Did you think they'd make it in the future?
Oh, yes.
Did you really? When you saw them putting around and couldn't make a hill, and you still thought they would be big like they are now?
Oh no, I never dreamed of the advancement that they've made. I never thought anything about that. But I know there's many times they start up that hill, and they just couldn't make it.
Well, how about trains now? The old locomotive. Where did you see your first train?
In Liberty. And
Liberty, Missouri?
Yeah, and we got on that train and went up to a little place called Turner. But we had to go through Lathrop and Kearney to get to Turner. And then when we got there, some folks met us, and we went out to Ed Annie's father's and mother's for Christmas. And the first Christmas, Ed Annie told me before who Santa Claus was, but I must not tell any other children. So a whole bunch of us was at Grandpa and Grandma Hunt's, and they had 2 rooms upstairs and 2 down. And upstairs in one room they had a bed, and they had bed in both rooms. But they pulled the feather beds off, and some of them slept on the floor and some of them on the bed. So downstairs, Grandpa and Grandma had their bed. They pulled their feather bed off, and we kids slept on that. But they didn't have any fireplace, so Santa Claus had to come through the door. Anyway, we hung our stockings on the chair, and sometime or other during the night, Santa Claus come, and he put oranges in our stockings, and he missed mine and put 2 in one. And anyway, the next day, all of them had oranges, and Fanny Pearl had 2. And her mother says, "Won't you give Audie one of yours?" "No, sir," said she. "Santa Claus give me this, and I won't divide them with nobody." And anyway, she didn't. But I got one out of the pantry, but it wasn't near as good as theirs because Santa Claus brought theirs.
Yeah, that do make a difference, doesn't it? Okay, do you have any favorite stories about any of your children, you know? You know what I mean? Like any real good, funny stories, like anything you can remember.
Well,
Were the children pretty easy to raise?
well, sometimes I think I got kind of hard with them.
Do you think you were a strict mother?
Sometimes.
Can you tell us anything about it?
Oh, I don't know. They all got along pretty good.
How about Jim? Didn't he give you some trouble?
No.
Jim was a pretty good boy, huh?
Now, he drove from Lawrence to Wichita, and he's 13 years old.
Yeah.
He didn't have to have a license that day.
Maybe that's the reason he's such a good driver now. He started so young, huh? Okay, Grandma, are you getting tired?
Oh, I'm all right.
Okay, I got one big question I'd like to. Oh yeah, I think did I ask you what your first airplane was that you saw?
Yes. Somebody was, and I kind of believe it was the one that went over the ocean first.
You mean Lindbergh?
I kind of believe so. They're large, and we drove out to see this demonstration along by the cemetery in Large. And this fellow got in and the car started to run, just as an old cow come in the front, and he had to turn, and the car tipped right up on its nose, and he come running out. So that's all of the airplane we got to see that day. He didn't get to fly, because his plane, nose of it hit the ground, and it tipped up.
What did you think of people trying to fly in those days? Did you think it'd be anything like it is now?
No, I had no idea. I thought it was kind of crazy myself.
Okay, Grandma, I know we've talked for quite a while, and we've enjoyed these sweet stories you've been telling us. And I've got one last question I think everybody would like to know. What do you contribute to your long life, 100 years? I mean, what are some of the things you did that we might try?
Well, I've never smoked. I've never drank. And I've never taken a lot of medicine. I drink hot water now a good deal. I think that helps these colds along. But I don't know. I never went to the doctor for anything hardly. Now, 2 of my children had typhoid, and I nursed those 2 through.
What 2 was that? Do you remember?
Catherine and Arthur. Catherine was about 5 years old, between 4 and 5, and Arthur was a little older, about 3 years later. So, and then this flu come in, and by the time that Catherine had it and Arthur had it, was 3 years, and a law had been passed that if you didn't have a trained nurse with a case of typhoid, then the city nurse had to come out and take their temperatures every day. So Miss Peacock came to take Arthur's temperature, and I talked with her about the flu, and I said I couldn't believe that it spread as fast as that one man could spread it as fast as they said, because when we heard about it on the East Coast, the next day somebody on the West Coast had it. And I said, that stuff's in the air, and we get it that way. And she said, yes, that's true, that it's in the air, and whoever is susceptible to taking it will take it. And that's what I believe about that.
You think many people died with that during those days?
Oh, there was many people with the flu.
Yeah.
There was oh yes, there was many people all over the whole country. It was all widespread everywhere.
But I guess you were pretty lucky at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's when little Selma died.
Did she die of the flu?
Yeah.
Selma, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how old was she?
She would be 2 in January. She died the 14th of December.
In what year?
1916.
1916. Okay. Then
She was born in 1916. She died in 1918.
1918. Is there anything else now that you might tell us young people about how we could live to be 100?
Well, just go on living as you are. I think you've done a pretty good job.
Okay.
These years. You're all in pretty good health.
Okay, in a few days you're going to see most of your grandchildren. What do you think about that?
I think that's going to be wonderful.
You think you'll be able to stand up on their own?
Oh my, yes. Yes. I think I'll stand it better than the rest of them.
Well, I know you're excited.
Yeah. I'm getting pretty anxious.
Yeah. Okay, we sure do thank you for all the good stories you told us.
Well.
And we all love you.
Well, I love all of you. It's wonderful of you.
Okay, we have Alice and Dick Whelan and Grandma here. First, we'll start with Alice. Alice, when were you born, anyhow?
I was born June the 9th, 1908, in Lawrence, Kansas.
Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place to be from, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dick, how about you? Where were you born?
I was born in Wichita, 1905.
1905. Okay, Alice, let's see, you were of Grandma's children, you were which one now?
I was the third,
Third one?
the oldest girl.
Yeah.
The first girl.
Where, let's see, you were born where, did you say?
Lawrence.
Lawrence. What kind of place was Lawrence in those days?
Well, I'm going to tell you, it was one you were glad to get away from. It was a real cold town, I think. And they were so against the college students, so against anything new that came in. Any factory that would give people work, they were against it. I was glad to leave.
Yeah.
I was just barely old enough to crawl on a train.
How about the transportation in those days? Was it pretty bad that they didn't have cars and things?
You had a horse and buggy, or usually a surrey. That's what we had.
How about you, Dick? Do you remember anything about the first car that come out and all this kind of good stuff?
Yeah, we had Maxwell.
Maxwell.
Yeah. Jack Benny and ourselves. He had a Maxwell. That was the first car we had.
What kind of car was that?
Well, it was a touring car.
Touring?
Yeah, we had, not like today, it was a good car. And we had Dodges from then on.
You didn't have horses and buggies?
No, we didn't have them except out on the farm. There was horses out there and buggies, but not in town here in Wichita. No.
missed half your life, didn't you?
Yeah.
Dick, you've had quite a few jobs in your life. Can you tell us about some of them you've had down through the years?
Well, I'll tell you what, since this is Annie's 100th birthday, we'll start from the time she moved in with us. That's in 1950. At that time, Annie was 66 years of age. She is now 100. At that time, I was working with Rusco Window Company as a salesman. I worked for them until 1960. Then I went with Zephyr Awning Company as a sales manager. Sales manager for 2 years, then I became manager, and I was manager of Zephyr until 1970. When I left there, I went with the company I'm with today. That's Burns Siding, which now they call it Forest Siding. I went in as a salesman at that time for 2 years, and then I became general manager of Kansas City and Omaha. And I'm still with the company.
I mean, you haven't retired yet, huh?
No, I haven't retired yet. I don't work much, but I get out a little. I get to go down to Arkansas once in a while. And this summer I intend to get out 3 or 4 hours a day and call on some of the dealers I know here, maybe 2 or 3 days a week. That's it.
Well, that's great.
But you have to keep busy. You can't just do nothing.
That's right.
Just like Annie here, she's busy all day long. You'd think that she was punching a clock. And I'll say one thing about her. You haven't brought it up. I will say this for Annie. She's the one person I can't, of all the older people you run into, you have to give her credit because she is up, bathed, dressed, hair combed, everything before 8 o'clock every morning.
That's
Now,
great.
at 100 years of age, you just can't, you don't run into people like that.
Fine.
And you have to give Alice a little credit. She has taken care of her mother these last 34 years and kept her in good shape.
Okay, Dick, is there any favorite story that you have about Grandma that you might want to relate to us?
Well, no, I don't really have a favorite story, except that all I can do is go through some of the years where as she got a little older, she lived in Prairie Village. She'd go over to the shopping center, and then we'd have to chase her down and bring her back.
She was good quite a while.
Yeah, she was good, very good. In fact, when we moved over here, Bill, the stairs worried us.
Yeah.
And that's the best
Is
thing.
this going on the reel?
Yes, yes. Yes, it's going on the reel.
Yeah.
The thing that worried us was the stairs.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kept Annie active, is the stairs, because she can go up and down those stairs faster than the average man.
You tell
I'll tell you
Better
that.
than me.
Or anybody else. And I think it's wonderful. But I will say this, that she's been a wonderful person, a wonderful mother-in-law. And she never enters into anybody's business, and she's right in there. And she wants to help even today, and we have to watch her. Because for a person who can't see, really, and can hardly hear, she gets around pretty fast.
That's right.
And I think it's just remarkable.
Okay, I'll say amen to that. Seconds when you're ready. Okay, Alice. Now I want to hear a little bit more about yourself. You haven't. Here you've been keeping Grandma all these years. You're one of the guardian angels. Surely you got more to tell about yourself than what you've told us.
Well, I really don't know what it would be.
Well, how about school? I mean, where did you go to school?
Went to Lawrence School in Lawrence High School. It was the old high school. We have a new one now. And then I went to work.
Okay.
Then I went to business college
You went to business college.
to be a secretary, which I never was.
Where did you work first time?
Oh, my first job was in a candy store.
Is that right?
Yeah, where they made their own candy.
Maybe that's the reason you're so sweet,
Could be.
huh? Okay, and then after that, where did you go to work?
Well, I worked in a drugstore back in the 30s, and then I went to work for the government. Then I helped build Lake City here in Missouri. I was with the contractors. And then I went to work for I went to Washington State on the atomic bomb out there and
Oh,
worked
yeah.
out there.
Let's hear a little bit about that.
Well, that was a city in itself. It was an experience you'll never forget.
Hmm.
You couldn't buy anything. I mean, if you stood in a long line to get a magazine, and when you got there, it was gone, no magazines.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't get meat. We lived in a barracks, and then we moved into a house in Richland that they finally completed.
Mm-hmm.
It was just wild. It was just a wild place. It was from every walk of life was there.
Well, did any of the folks that was working there, did they know what was going on? What
No.
you were,
No,
nobody
we
knew?
speculated and talked about it. We did not know until we came back here. When they
Well,
dropped the bomb, we didn't know it.
You didn't know it till they dropped it, that you were
No
actually
way.
working on it out
That's right. No one knew.
there. Okay.
It was a big place.
After you left there, Washington, where did you go then?
Came back here and worked at Sunflower on the
Sunflower
rockets.
Ordnance?
Mhm.
Is that when Betty and did Dick work out there too?
Oh, yeah, we were all hampered in every place else.
Yeah, then I don't know, where did I quit out there? Oh, well, quit, and then we had to go back, and then I went back to start the plant again, and I left. And I really didn't work after that, did I?
Well, you worked with Rusco a while, and then you went with Hood.
Oh, then I went with the oil company.
You know.
Then I quit there about 11, 12
Yeah, I
years.
remember when you
Yeah.
worked with the oil company.
I've had so many jobs, I've forgotten all of
Let's
them.
see, now you lived
We lived over on Paseo in those days,
Paseo, that was over in Missouri, and then you moved to
Prairie Village.
Prairie Village.
Yeah.
You
And
lived
then
there
here.
for several years and then here.
We've been here about 8 years.
Prairie Village, I think 14 or 15,
Yeah.
something like that.
There, someplace.
Okay, now as far as Grandma goes, what's your favorite story? I know you probably got
I'd
thousands
hate to
of
tell
them.
you this story, but I don't know how long, I don't know whether I can tell it without, but anyway, we had something on our back, we had a back porch that was glassed in when we lived on Paseo. And something was eating our potatoes. We couldn't figure out what in the world it was, so we set a trap. And lo and behold, it was a rat. And Mother was going to take care of it. We threw him in the waste paper basket, and she was in her nightgown robe, and she flew down these stairs, out the sidewalk, up these steps to the backyard, and that rat jumped out of the waste paper basket, and Mother fell, and her glasses flew. And the waste paper basket went like that. And she was going around there looking for her glasses. I thought that was the funniest thing that ever happened. It really was.
That's pretty good. How about you, Dick?
Just
You
never
got-
knew we had a rat.
The only thing I can say about Annie is really, it's comical. Because she knows when Betty's coming over, when Kay is supposed to get over, and she looks out that window quite a bit. She knows the car. She can see a distance a lot easier than she can up close.
Uh-huh.
And she'll know who it is, and then she'll come down and say, "Oh, you here? I didn't know you were here." And she knew darn well they were. See?
That's
Is
a
that
good
you,
one.
Kay? Is that you,
yeah,
Betty?
yeah.
Well, that just verifies what I told them this morning
Yeah.
when we were coming over here.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, but it is comical. She doesn't know anything about it, and all of a sudden she's so surprised. "Oh, you here?" Good.
And she knows our brown car out there. She knows
Yeah.
if it's gone or if we're back.
Well, I put one other thing about Annie.
But she's never interfered in our lives.
No, that's true.
In
But
all
one
these
thing
years.
I want to tell about Annie. You know, we used to have a dog here,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Well, believe it or not, that dog's pretty smart, and so is Annie. When Alice wants to go someplace and she changes clothes, Annie is sitting right there and the dog, both sitting there waiting to see if they're going to get to go.
That's okay.
That's true.
Both eyes.
Yeah, well, wait and see. They know exactly when she's going to go.
Well, how about the dog now? He's gone. Now.
Well, he's
What
gone.
about him?
Well,
I mean,
he's gone. He
Well-
just got too old.
Does Annie sit there now and wonder?
Well, she
No.
got no.
Yeah.
She knows.
We quit
Alice-
going to Lawrence. Like we were, I was going to Lawrence all the time.
Uh-huh.
But no, Annie knows when Alice is going to go. How she does, I don't know.
Oh, I
She
know
knows. A lot of times she doesn't. I see her sitting there and I say, "Now what's she thinking about?" Well, she's waiting, see. When are you going to ask me to go?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, well, this has been great. And we've enjoyed the talk with you all,
I hope it
and
comes
we
out all right.
appreciate you keeping Annie so nice. I mean, that's probably the reason she's lived so long. So, okay, we thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, you're sure welcome.
Good morning, Kay. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. It's Saturday and the day is nice.
Yeah, well, it could be better.
Could be worse.
I mean, I was looking out there and there's no sunshine yet, and I can't play golf.
Well, the birds aren't eating, so I know that it's not going to be bad. When they get out there and eat at that window, it's going to get bad.
I was just looking at your place here. You really got it fixed up nice.
Well, thank you. It's home. It's not large, but I only need a little space.
Go ahead.
I think that I should start by telling you that I'm sort of in the middle of the family. Mother had 8 children, and I'm kind of in the middle.
Well, when you say in the middle, what do you mean now?
Well, that means that we had Carl and Arthur and Alice and Oscar, and then I was born.
You were
So I'm
a
kind of-
little child.
Right, and then there was Jim and Selma and Betty. So I was rather in the middle, which meant that I learned from the older ones and got to care for the little ones too. But I was born in Lawrence, many years ago, very many years ago.
Well, what year was it?
1912 in August.
1912. Now I wanted to ask you, when you went to school, how did you get to school in those days?
We walked about a mile, and it was a city school. School was at 9 o'clock, and then we came home for lunch, which lasted an hour and a half. We had a 15-minute recess, and school took up at 1:30, and then we were out at 4, which is a little different from today. But everyone went home to lunch then, and yes, we walked, and it didn't seem very far then. It was kind of fun.
Like today, they got these buses running and everything. Probably the kids would be better off if some of them would walk.
Oh, I think so. But it's impossible because I was in 2 kinds of schools. When I was in town, I was in several rooms of the school and went to the 6th grade. 5th grade, I did 6th. Then when we moved to the country, I was in a 1-room schoolhouse where you had 8 grades all in 1 room. And you had, you had 1 child in the 1st grade, and we all sat there and listened to him. And then when we finished the next class, would come up, there might be 2 or 3 in that. This was typical, and I think there's still schools like that. But when I finished that, I went to junior high. Then I took the bus. That's a big step.
Mm-hmm.
And just had an average, normal growing period. All of us were driven with ambition because Mother taught it to us. She wanted us to go to school was a big aim in her life.
Was your mother kind of strict on you in those days?
No, not really strict, except the only things that I can remember that she was very, very strict about was our English. We had to speak properly. And we didn't have to say yes, ma'am, but to anyone else we did. She did not allow us to tell stories. We were never allowed to say a lie. You told a lie was absolutely a no-no. You got slapped for that. So you could tell a story, but you couldn't tell a lie. And manners. Courtesy to others was an important thing to her. And my dad was a happy person.
Yeah, how about Martin?
He was just, he was a happy person. And I suppose that the greatest thing that he contributed to us was his happy attitude. He was not irresponsible, but he wasn't a driven man. And so we always had a happy childhood. I can't ever remember having a harsh word, hearing a harsh word in my home when I grew up.
From your dad or both?
Dad or mother. Never heard an argument, never heard a harsh word. Didn't know it existed. And so I just suppose they probably lived for 100 years together. That was the way I grew up. Never questioned it. And when I hear of people
talking and saying that the children need to hear what life is all about and tell them the way it is and things like that. I wonder, because you see, I don't have any harsh memories of what it's like to fear, wonder whether rent's going to get paid or something like that. I never heard those things. Never, ever. It was just a carefree childhood. And I'm kind of grateful for it. I don't mind not having had to worry about whether Dad was going to lose his job or something.
Okay, after your dad died, I mean, did the family kind of break up then?
No. After Dad passed away, we held the family together. Mother was there, and my older brother was there. Now, my sister Alice was married, and she didn't live with us, but we just kept it intact. Betty was there, and I was there, and my older brother was there, Carl. And, of course, Mother didn't work, and so just the two of us worked, but everything went into the home, and it was kept close. The other brother, two brothers are married. Yeah. Alice was married, and Art was married. So they didn't live there. And so we got along. That's just plain old family business. And had we had needs, the two brothers and the sister that was married would have helped, but we didn't.
Well, after you left, then did Grandma live with you a while?
After, when Carl and Jim and one of the others went to Oregon, then it left Mother with Alice and I and Betty. Now, Betty was just a little tight. Betty was 9 when Dad passed away. So we kept the household together, and then Mother went with Betty to Oregon. And by this time, Alice was married. And I got married at that time. And
let's see, now you married
I married Chet, in 1934.
34.
October the 20th, I think. It's been, and we were married for about, from October until sometime the following summer, I believe. It was less than a year when Betty came back. Mm-hmm. Mother sent Betty back because the situation.
Back from Oregon? Back
from Oregon. The school system was terrible. We had her then, and then Mother came back. And Mother lived with us then. And Mother and Betty lived with us then for, well, Betty until she finished high school, and you met her, you know. Mm-hmm. And then, and Mother stayed on. So I would say she was with us about 20 years. Mm-hmm. And she went with us wherever we went. She was a happy person. There was something interesting I wanted to tell you about her, and I'm sure you recognize it. But she always thought her son and sons-in-laws were absolutely perfect. The daughters could make mistakes, but the son-in-laws, they were always right. And if you said, I don't like the way he did this, she'd say, now he knows best. And that was a policy of hers.
Well, I always thought you was a smart woman. Now I know.
But that was I thought that was kind of strange, you know. So you never could complain very loud about your husband or what went wrong, because she didn't tolerate it. And she lived with us. She loved to go. And her sense of humor was magnificent. We'll tell you of an incident. We had taken her with us down to New Orleans, where my daughter lived. And we went down to the main little park. I don't recall the name of it, but it's right down in French Quarters. And we were going to go for breakfast, but first we were going to look around. And all of a sudden we noticed a camera group, you know, all of the cables and things that goes with camera shooting, over in one portion of the park. So we had to go over and see. Oh, Mother's very, very curious. And they were making a film for Joanne Woodward. There was a film going on, and Mother just had to get right up there. And here's all these cables about, and I was worried about her falling or something, but not Mom. She's just tripping along there. And they had all of the plantings and things were all pretty. You know, they'd been made up special, and the ground was soft. So she's just as high as she can to peek over what's going on. And the ground gave away, and she flipped back into the bushes. Back she went, you know, in her white coat and everything, and her white
embarrassing moment. Huh?
Well, they dropped their cameras. The crew ran over. I went shower to help her up, and she's sputtering, and I'm thinking, oh Lord. But anyway, that's her curiosity. She never held back.
Wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Can you tell us any other stories about her?
Oh, yes. I shall never forget. We were going to take her. We were going down on one of the rivers down in Missouri. Where is that? Osage or
Bull Shoals.
the big Bull Shoals. Well, it wasn't Bull Shoals, but it was one. And we were going to take her along. So we brought her over here the night before so we could leave the next morning. We had a two-door car. And the night before, I got her in the back seat. It was been about 5:30. And so she had a tendency to, I got her all safe and set up, and we were going to go to the store or something because you'd never go without her. And as I got her all comfortable, and I got in the front seat, and I slammed the door, she had turned and caught her hand in that door, straightened herself around just like that. And it just cut this hand like that, just cut those knuckles. And I thought, oh my gosh, it was terrible. And she just held it. And I thought, oh my goodness. Well, the end result was we rushed her to the hospital and they sewed her up. And I didn't know what to tell Alice what had occurred. But do you think we left her home? No, sir. She went right along. We sewed her up. She put a plastic bag on her hand so it'd be safe. And she went, had a good time. We had little problems along, but that was her spirit. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Now, you had one daughter.
Yes, I have one daughter, Susan K.
We hope to get Sue on a little bit later.
Well, she'll come in this week. Have two grandchildren, one girl that is now 20 and a boy that's 17. They live in St. Charles, Missouri. The husband, my son-in-law, Paul Boughton, is a professor at St. Louis University.
Okay.
And Sue is a medical technologist and works at a hospital 2 days a week.
I'm sure we'll be able to get a lot of that information out of Sue and Paul when we interview them.
Probably.
But now, let's see, one other thing about you. Is there anything else you can tell us about Grandma that would be real interesting?
Of course, I think that the thing that I remember, whether it's interesting or not, I don't know. But she was young when she was married. And I remember she used to play with us. And she would say, this is my childhood. Her childhood apparently had not been too happy. And she didn't have any brothers and sisters with her. And so she played with us. She played ball with us. She ran with us. She did all of these things that most mothers don't do. Yeah. But she did then. Most mothers then didn't. And so she had we had a very young mother, and that was probably a good attitude.
Well, that's great. Mm-hmm. Well, I know if it hadn't been for Alice and you and Betty, which I call the guardian angels, that Grandma probably wouldn't have lived to be 100 years old, but she is sure in real good shape now.
Yeah.
And a lovely person.
She is, and I think that it has been a hardship on occasion to have Mother. I mean, all three of us, for our families, possibly. And yet, it hasn't been. It's been a pleasure because of the kind of person she was. So I have never regretted it. I think that it's better than having to go to a care home or a nursing home.
Oh,
and she would never survive it. She wouldn't last a month. So I think that living with a young family was a help. And the grandchildren benefited. Mm-hmm. Your children benefited by having Grandma around.
They all have.
And if she'd been living somewhere else in a home or something, or even by herself, they would not have had the need to take care. I think that's something. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we sure appreciate all this good information about Grandma and your own life. And we thank you very much.
Well, you're sure welcome.
Very interesting.
Well, it's interesting, but it's better to live it.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Betty.
Hi.
How are you this morning?
I'm fine.
Okay. Let's see. Where were you in the lineup of Annie's Grandma's children?
Well, I'm the youngest of a family of 8.
Youngest of the family of 8. Okay. Do you remember much when you were a child, like when your father died or
Yes.
stuff like that?
I remember I was 8 years old when he died, and it was at Christmas time, and it was a real sad thing, but I was so young that I don't remember very much about him.
Or where did you go to school? See, you were about 8, you say?
Mhm.
Well, you were probably in the, first or second grade?
Probably. I might have been in the second grade. But we moved around after Daddy died. We lived in a lot of different places, and so I think I changed school once or twice a year all the way through.
Well, then, after your daddy died, what happened to you then? I mean, did the family break up, or where did you go?
Well, it was kind of the Depression time, and so we, part of us were together, Alice and Mother and Kay and my brothers. I believe they might have went away at that time, but we lived in different apartments, and then I guess for a number of years, then it finally got to be to where it was just Alice and Kay and Mother and I, and we lived in a little apartment, kind of close to in Wichita, kind of close to a place, the main street. I don't remember just
Well,
exactly.
did you all work, or how did you?
Well, they worked, and this was shortly after the Depression, and I think Kay maybe worked at Cress's, and I think Alice worked in a drugstore or something like that, and I went to school, went to junior high there.
Okay, after Wichita, or did you come back to Kansas City, or?
No, after Wichita, Mother and I went to Oregon to stay with my brother Carl, and this was...
Carl was out in Oregon?
Mm-hmm. He worked in the mines, in the gold mines, and Jim, my brother Jim, worked in the gold mine too. So we went out there and we lived in this little valley. It was called, I think it was Pine Valley or something like that.
Valley. Sounds like a beautiful spot.
It was, and we spent, Mother and I spent a full year there, and I went to the 7th grade, and it was just a beautiful place. The snow, when it would snow, it was so deep and everything, and I remember they had real, genuine horse-drawn sleighs with the big bells on them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked to school. Sometimes the snow would be 8 or 10 inches deep. But then after that time, they decided that I would go back to St. Joseph, and I lived with Chet and Kay then for a year or so in St. Joe.
Okay, and then you lived in St. Joe. Then where'd you go?
Well, after that, we migrated back to Wichita again, and we must have stayed in Wichita. I was probably
You're talking about Kay and
Kay and Chet
you.
and myself, and we went to Wichita, and we lived there with. I must have lived with Kay and Chet. I don't recall where Mother was because our family was kind of broken up at this time, and so I lived there and went to junior high and started high school, and then somewhere in the course of this, I lived in other places, but they weren't of great significance to me. And I finally ended up by living with Chet and Kay at Muncie, Kansas.
And you went to Turner?
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, that's where I met you.
That's what I was getting around to. Okay, and then you got married, and how many children?
We have 2 sons. Bill's the oldest and Jim's the youngest.
Okay, now, is there any good stories that you can tell about your mother along the way?
Well, some of the things that I remember real vividly was, and particularly in our Navy life, that they used to, she would come and visit us. And if you remember, Grandma was white-headed. And every little child in the neighborhood, when she was there, she was Grandma. She used to read them all kinds of stories and play games with them. And little children had never heard of button, who's got the button, but Grandma taught it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
those were significant times. And the other thing that kind of stands out about a story was that, Mother in her later years and her quilting and everything. And so I always try to go over there every day or every other day. But one day she had all the blocks there, and she had them all laid out, and we were looking at them. And she had, because her eyesight was so bad, she had to kind of feel the seams to see if it was sewn very well. She took this block out, and she could feel something was wrong, and she said, what's wrong with this? And I looked, and she had sewn a piece of Kleenex into this quilt. And I was afraid to tell her, but finally I said, well, Mother, I said, you've sewn a Kleenex in there for a block. And her little hands went down, and she felt it all over and everything, and finally she just burst out laughing. So we sat and had a good laugh about that. And I think that's the thing that I think about Mother, is that she always could laugh at herself. She can laugh with you, but she always could laugh at herself. And I think that's one of the things that, to me, has made her to seem real young.
Well, I know of all the times I've been in the family, I've never heard her say a harsh word. I think I said that before, and it is true. Any other stories that you might relate? I mean, how about you girls quilting downstairs? Isn't there 4 girls that does that now?
4.
Yeah. Alice, Kay, you, and Mother?
And Mother. Well, we kind of got that quilting machine because Mother had pieced, a lot of quilts. And so we got that. And, of course, her eyesight's pretty bad, but she lets us do the quilting down there. And we work at it, and we have her out in the other room with her crocheting and everything. And so she will, at times, we'll be running the quilting machine, and then she'll come in and give it an examination. And the funny thing, she's making quilts. She has been piecing some quilts again. And she told Kay, Kay said, well, now we have to get these quilted. And she said, oh, if we don't get them quilted, I'll just leave them for you when I'm not here. So she's got our time planned even when she's not here.
I know every time she calls Betty, and she'll say, she'll get on that phone and it'll ring, and I answer it, and I say, hello, and she says, Betty? And I think that means that she can't distinguish male and female voices on that telephone. I think that's real cute, but I get a kick out of it.
Well, I think she's expecting me to answer when you do that.
Yeah, but it's just one of them things. Remember that time that she was out in San Diego with us, and we went on that picnic?
Oh, yes.
I never will forget that. There was a bunch of our Navy friends, and we went to the foot of this mountain. It was a big mountain, and so after we had eaten and everything, we decided we'd take a little walk, or a little hike, rather, up the mountain. Grandma said, can I go? Sure, you can go. We'll rest a lot on the way up. So we started trouncing up this mountain, and it gets up there about 100, 200 yards up. And everybody was just panting like a steam engine, so we decided to sit down and rest a little while. So we sat down and rested for about 2 or 3 minutes. We looked up, and there was Grandma. She was about another 100 or 200 yards on up the mountain. I hollered up, Grandma, what are you doing up there? She says, well, I thought you folks were behind me. She didn't even take a rest. She just kept right on going. And she must have been in her upper 60s at that time.
Well, she was older than that. She was in her 70s.
In her 70s, probably. So I'm telling you, that is one marvelous woman.
Well, I don't think that she ever was any 60 years old or anything. She's always been 60 years young, and now she's 100 years young. I think that's the secret to her.
Well, I know she's a marvelous woman. Is there anything else that, how about, you want to tell a little bit about your Navy life? No, you don't have to.
Spare you.
Yeah. But anyhow, we were in the Navy 20 years, moving around a lot. And did your How many times did your mother come see us? Was she at our wedding in San Diego?
Yes, she came to our wedding, and we lost her because it was during the war, and she apparently we all had the wrong address where I would be staying. And so she had got on the bus and got to San Diego from Los Angeles, and we didn't, we wondered why she hadn't contacted us, but we also had lost my clothes, if you'll recall. The trunk was missing. And so you went down to the bus station. You just said, well, we'll make one more trip. We had that much time left before we got married. And you went down there, and she was sitting there. And then if you'll remember that we couldn't get hotels or anything, so she had to go back on the bus that night. And on the way back, she became ill. And I think by the time she got home, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And she had an emergency appendectomy. And it's real, real serious because it almost ruptured. So she said then she was recalling that all that made her sick was that she ate a piece of pie, and it was apricot pie. She's never eaten apricot pie since that time. But she came to visit us when we lived in Memphis, and she came to visit us, if you'll remember, when we lived in New England, when we lived in Brunswick.
That's right.
So she traveled around a lot with us.
Well, I know you gals are the guardian angels, and if it hadn't been for all three of you, Alice, Kay, and you, that Grandma may not have made it, but I know that she is really in good hands when she's got you girls around.
Well, she's gave a lot of herself to all of her family and her grandchildren. She was never a selfish person. She was always willing to give a lot of her own person, and you know, just being around her and everything, and to see her strength and everything, well, it's kind of an inspiration. And I hope that I can achieve a little bit of something like that in my lifetime.
Okay, we're looking forward to all you folks coming in from out west. So until then, we'll be looking forward to it. Hi, Jim. Hi, Marty.
I do.
Hi, Bill.
Well, you come up from Arkansas today, huh?
All the way, beautiful.
Was it nice weather?
Yeah, we had
All
a
the way
good
up was
trip.
nice sunshine, but when we got here, well, it almost rained.
First time we seen sun in so many days. We
Yeah.
feel like we got web feet down there.
Let's see. You guys been in Arkansas how long?
7 years.
7 years.
We went
Just
in
about
December.
7 years.
Went in December
7.
77. Yeah.
Well, do you like Arkansas better than California?
The last winter, no.
Would you go back to California if you had a chance?
I would, I think.
Just to visit or to live?
I don't like the wall-to-wall people out there.
Boy, I'll drink to that. I had a terrible time. It's like 5 o'clock around here on I-35.
I know it. I know. It's
Yeah,
wall-to-wall
that's
people,
something bad.
wall-to-wall cars, and I don't know. I mean, depends on where I was. If I got a place where I'd like to go, I might be all right. But
I'll tell you, they got beautiful weather out there.
Oh, compared to what Arkansas has been the last few months, yeah.
this whole winter's been terrible everywhere.
I know.
Down here, it's been awful bad.
But really, Bella Vista has, more of what we want. If we could have Bella Vista in California,
Oh, yeah.
You'd have it made
we
there.
would go in a second again. But no, people-wise out there, in the crowd.
Well,
Bella
Jim,
Vista's better.
let's see. Go ahead, Marty. I'm sorry.
No, just Bella Vista's better weather,
Oh, yeah.
for what we want.
Jim, let's see. Out of your mother had 8 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you in the line up there?
I was the third from the last.
Third from the last. Let's
Yeah.
see that.
Well, my
That would
sister, younger sister than me, died. But see, then that leaves Betty, your wife,
Okay.
the youngest. She and I are the youngest.
You were born then when?
1914.
1914.
in Lawrence.
These
Yeah,
gray
Lawrence.
hairs. See all these gray hairs? That means 1914.
It looks
I
like
mean, I don't have
at
any
least
color back
14
here.
gray hairs. Well, let's see. What kind of schools did you have in those days there in Lawrence?
Oh, God, we had ordinary school, Pinckney School. I went to Pinckney School, and then I went to Lawrence Junior High School, and from there I moved to Wichita when the whole family moved to Wichita in 29? I guess we moved out there.
Just before the Big Depression?
Well, that was the beginning of it.
Beginning of
I
it.
spent the last dollar and we had to leave that.
Well, what'd you do in Wichita?
Oh gosh, I worked in a drugstore. I carried papers. I worked on a vegetable farm. Bummed around. I was a caddy master for a golf course.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Is that where you learn how to play golf?
No, I learned how to shoot craps. So.
Pretty good at it once in a while.
Oh yeah, I was had some great experiences out there.
Yeah.
I understand the golf course are gone now. They have a college there instead. They moved it away and built a college where it was.
Well, after Wichita, where'd you go?
After Wichita, my brother and I, the oldest brother and I, we went to Oregon and stayed there, worked around there for a while, and then went to work in a mine, gold mine there. Worked there.
Gold mine. Is that when Betty and her mother come out there?
Yeah. Mom and Betty were there. She come out and stayed there for a while, working, and Betty come back to Wichita with Kay. And Mom stayed on for a while, and then she finally come back. But I stayed there. Eventually married and went back to Wichita and worked for Beechcraft.
After you were married?
Mm-hmm.
You come back to Wichita?
Mm-hmm. We worked there for a while, and then we went to California, and that's where all the boys are born.
Let's see, now you have
3 boys. Eeny,
Alan.
meeny, and miny.
Alan, Bob, and Mike.
Alan, Bob, and Mike. Alan, Michael, and Bob.
And in that rotation. Well, Marty, how about telling us when you and Jim met? You remember?
Oh, vividly. Well, I don't know. That's kind of a long story. I worked at Mount San Antonio College, and that's where his late wife worked. We worked both in the same place, and kind of mutual meetings, so to speak. We'd been in social groups around.
Mm-hmm.
After Jane passed away, and sort of a natural thing, I think.
Yeah, it was
What'd you do, just fall into each other's arms?
Oh,
one door closed and another open. That's generally the way it happens. And it's been wonderful.
Well, let's see now, you've been married 7 years, right?
oh no, we've been married 11 years.
11 years.
11 years.
It'll be 11 years this year.
Nice, you're getting the old
Oh,
times.
very full. No, it was a very, very nice beginning.
So you lived in
Well,
Pomona for a while, and then you moved
Yeah,
to
we lived, after we were married, we stayed in a home there on Smith Street in Pomona till we went back to Arkansas.
Till we retired.
Yeah.
We retired there, and Kay invited us back to Bella Vista to stay there. 2 weeks we stayed there and played golf. Of course, you and I played there golf too, years back. And she talked to us about, moving back there. Gee, we liked what we saw, and we buzzed back out to California, sold out, and rushed back down here and bought a place. And it was great, but it's beginning to show some signs of wear now down there. Things are not running as well as they should. But all in all, why, it's still better than you can find anywhere else. For dollar-wise, for money-wise, and what you get for your money, well, you can't beat it. But it has many drawbacks too.
Oh yeah.
Kind of
Like
hard
every
to,
place else.
kind of hard to find golf for $1 a round.
Yeah.
And
that's
wonderful
true.
people. Gosh, they're the greatest people in the world. You ever want to meet anybody?
Well,
They're
there are people from
Oh,
all over the country.
yeah, and they're just wonderful people. That's you just don't find the bad ones. Okay. we really enjoy the people. I mean, the guys are great and their wives are great, you know.
Let's get back to the kids now, Jim. When you're raising your kids, you know any good stories you might tell us about any of the kids?
The only one I can tell you about, Bob. And I'll tell you, this is funny. We were driving down the road. We used to take a trip every once in a while, and this is when TVs just first come out. And of course, they showed a lot of things on TV that, you know, anything to make a show for the kids and everything. So we're driving down the road one day. We're just taking a ride, and all of a sudden, why he started hollering. There was one of them full blows with a ruderator that run down the trees. And he just kept raising. He was only just a small kid, and he kept yelling about this bulldozer, you know. Finally, I decided when we got to where we would go back the same way and have him explain what the heck he's talking about. Well, as it turned out, he had seen on TV where they were clearing the forest with a bulldozer, but he got it mixed up. He called it a bulldozer. A bulldozer with a ruderator. Well, it had a great big plate up in front of the radiator. He called it a ruderator. Right. And of course, these things push the trees, and he said it run down the trees. And he just, I stopped and was going to put him on it, and man, he like to blew a fuse. He wasn't getting about anywhere close to that damn thing. But he said there's one of them bulldozers with a ruderator that run down trees and like those trees.
How about Alan? You don't have any good stories about the old sailor?
No, Alan was a guy that didn't get into much trouble in any way, shape, or form, and he's very active in a lot of things, and we didn't have a problem with him. Michael was the same, and nothing very funny like that. Bob seemed like everything come out of his mouth was funny. We were driving up through the valley.
He hasn't changed much.
Coming to a cotton gin, and all of this cotton was hanging on the telephone wire, and he asked me what it was, and I told him cotton. He says, I bet their voices sound funny when it comes out of there. So, you know, things like this, he was always popping off.
Yeah.
We were into a restaurant one time, and waitress kept going back and forth and wouldn't give us anything, and finally stopped her and said, you know, this is a nice place. I'd like to eat here sometime. And God, I thought we were going to get thrown out. But he was always popping off, stuff like that.
How about you, Marty? You got any stories about the kids, or have you been family?
No, really. I've been in the family long enough, and they were all grown and left
pretty
home
well
when I got
grown
the
and
family.
gone.
And so I really.
She spoiled them.
How about this guy? You got any stories about him?
Oh, some, but I think we're on TV, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, you might as well let the world know. How about Grandma, Marty? You got any stories that you might relate about her?
Well, here again, you know, I haven't, but I think he's.
I'll have to tell you one about Mom that you'll never believe. I hadn't been back in 30 years back here. So I come back, took a visit, come back to see Mom. Well, gosh, she was rushing around to get everything I wanted. She knew I liked roasting ears, so she run across the street down in Prairie Village and got me roasting ears car. And she got thing together, and she was going to make me some biscuits. And boy, she had this going and that going. And man, when those biscuits come out, they were just like rocks. And her explanation was that they just didn't make flour like they used to. Instead of being flour, they were like cement, you know. I'll never forget. And damn, you could drop them. They just sound like rock. And she said, they just don't make flour like they used to. She'll probably kill me when I tell her that.
That's pretty good. Well, Marty, you just don't have any story about Grandma, no?
No, really, like I say.
She's got one about her brother, though.
Let's hear that one about your brother. Is that the one in the service?
No, this is one that's in Florida.
Florida.
But they were throw a wire over a.
Oh yes, my brother and his wire. Well, it happened that I think he was about 16 at the time. We lived in Upland, California at that time, and the kid across the street and the kid next door to us, they all got out. The kid across the street had some pigeons for sale, so we wanted to put a sign up on the wire. Pigeons for sale. So Henry, that was the boy across the street, he shimmied up the pole, and Gail took this wire to flip it up, and when he did, it crossed the power lines.
Oh,
And it blew. And I never saw a kid come down a pole so fast in my life as this neighbor could.
My father was working up in the foothills, which is about 6 miles away. When he come home that night, well, my brother, to backtrack a little bit, he went right through the front door and right on out the back door, and we didn't see him for a few hours. My dad came home and he said, "Boy," he said, "something really blew up down here in this valley today." And we said, "Yeah, it sure did. Gale just, and the kid across the street blew out the power, and blew it clear out to San Diego.
No kidding.
Oh,
Everything, the whole thing
the
went.
whole system went down.
Well, needless to say, the pigeons didn't get sold, but they learned their lesson on that one.
Well, they're having bad weather back there in Montana, Wyoming, and in that area. You think everybody will get back here?
Well, we
Yeah,
sure
I
hope so.
I really hope
I do too.
She's looking
Oh,
forward to this
she's
so
so
much.
excited you can't hardly hold her down.
Do you realize what's going to be happening here in the next few days about here to the airport?
Yeah.
You
A lot of trips.
You've got about 16 cars you can get going out there.
I think we should rent a van.
It's going to be worth it though.
Oh yeah.
Now you guys are going to stay at is that the Roundtree? You guys are going to stay
No,
for 3 days?
Double tree.
Doubletree.
You were down there
We're
with.
going to stay there
the
for
boys.
a couple of days or over the weekend.
Well, we'll be there till Bob and Sandy will leave
Monday.
Monday. So
Helen and Sharon and the 2 girls leave on Sunday. We got to run them out, and then Bob run out on Monday, and all of them you have to run back and forth to get them on Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, this is going to be a real fun time, and I'm really
it is.
looking forward.
We're looking forward to it.
So
We wouldn't miss it for anything.
we sure thank you guys for coming up and sitting for us for a while.
Oh,
We
we're
enjoy it.
cheap hotel. You got to come up.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Bill.
We're over at the clubhouse at Greenbrier. It's April 7th, one day before Grandma's birthday. We're trying around and catch some people unaware again. Everybody's finished with breakfast, they're just standing around shooting the breeze. John over there, Alan Swanson. Grandma's going to stay over there, and she's going to meet everybody this afternoon at the reception. I'm not saying anything. Over in the other room at Greenbrier, people just sitting around talking.
You really are. He's a menace. Both of you.
Flowers over here among the thorns. This is Stacy and Christy.
Is she going for to be an RN or just to
No, she's going to be she probably has her name.
I feel no pain till start getting involved. They got you on camera. Look in the camera.
I was looking at it a while ago.
Come on, enough.
It got me in a pain position.
No, I'm on. I was just told them I don't eat almonds. I got to eat the next step. Pretty nice. Huh? It's like we got pretty
Yeah, I'll eat today. Jerry, eat tomorrow.
Filter. Okay.
Huh?
I can't find her now.
I told them what's the flavor.
They're not gonna
And they must be in the pool.
This is Ellen. She come all the way from Montana. She lives on a farm out there. She's the wife of Carl. Over there making the face is Sandy. And that beautiful husband of hers with her. That's Bob. This guy right here is Jim John. He's a great golfer come up from Arkansas.
And don't you forget it.
This is my good buddy Don Trexler. He lives out in California, at Disneyland, close to it. Would you believe that he's been on a diet for about the last 6 months? He's lost about 55 pounds. Oh, close to 65 now. Close to 65 pounds. And I was out there and we lived at their house for a week, and I'll show you a few things on the cruise.
This is your great uncle Jim.
Oh, hi.
This is Tanya.
Grandfather.
He's the daughter of Jerry and Alice.
Yeah.
They come
And
up
he's
from Oklahoma
Grandma's son.
City.
Grandma Swanson's son.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Now, look at the camera and say hello.
Hi.
This is Jerry McCall. He's up from Oklahoma. He's a pilot. Retired Army guy.
22 and a half years.
He's kind of honoring.
Look who's talking.
Do I have a choice?
Jerry Jr. in Florida. They drove up last night and had to stop for 4 hours to take a nap. And he finally woke up and they come on in. They got in at 5 o'clock this morning. Woke us all up, knocking on the door. Not really.
So that's his official name.
You know, I was in Baker, Oregon. Baker, Oregon, they told me to sign my name, and I signed John Henry, and they threw me in jail. That's
You
right.
come up and ask me about it.
That's right. So they didn't. They said sign your John Henry here, so I signed John Henry. They threw me in jail. They checked it out. Yeah. You know, that's the old saying. Sign your John Henry. I signed John Henry. Plump, and they said we'll check you out.
And it's probably hard for me to.
They said your name, you go by your name is John Henry, and you go by the name of Jimmy, and your check is coming by the name of James. And he said, now just what the hell is your name? I said, I give up.
Did they ever find out? His wife called him John, and the rest of us called him Jimmy. He's known by John Donald.
When Jim came down, I got by when they in Arkansas and stuff. He looked at the telephone places under John. And he said, well, I saw John, but he said, it never dawned on me that
You're Bill. I'm Bill.
Bill or William?
Bill. I don't have any confusion going into Kansas City.
At that time, I believe Nona was already moved up there or something. And then the second time he was only getting on a month. He had an allergy that was real weird, and then he swelled up. And he's not made. He comes from Windsor, Michigan here.
Great skill. Over here we got Golden. She's some chief cook of Barbara Hello, Oscar.
Hello, Lynn.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Good to see you. What's this?
I want to.
A little bit like Gina.
I doubt. I don't know if it comes through here.
Really nice. Real nice. A little bit. Like this is little Gurney. This is little Gurney.
Hey, you're looking better than I do.
You sit down here and you can, and then I want to get your family close by. You just sit down. And Mama?
Where'd you talk in this thing at?
Go ahead and talk. She'll hear you.
Yeah.
You're looking better than I do.
Now you know how to talk. It's your hearing. It's your hearing. Are you too hoarse? That's what I want you
Let's see, Oscar. The line of 8 children, where do you fit in that group at?
Out of the 8?
Out of the 8.
Oh.
See, it was Carl and...
I see, there's Victor, half brothers, and Carl, and Arthur, and Alice, and I.
Then you. Let's see, that makes you...
5th.
5th, huh?
Yeah.
Where did you guys drive in from this time?
Casper, Wyoming.
Casper, Wyoming. How's the weather out there?
Well, we had pretty good weather all the way in, but back up around the high prairie, we still got pretty much winter.
Yeah, I imagine. We're having it here, too.
Yeah, we have western Kansas, and a lot of it, too. They're still left there.
Is that right?
There's a little winter wheat coming up.
Is there?
Yeah.
Did you run into any snow?
Not a flurry.
I didn't.
Not even a rainstorm, did we?
You don't.
That's pretty good.
Only we got lost a few times.
Yeah, well, that's normal.
Well, we went through Denver when we didn't have to. We went from Cheyenne right on 80 and come right on down, come across by Joplin.
Yeah.
As it was, we come down the way right the other way.
Well, Oscar, how long have you been retired now?
Oh, since I got crippled at 63, 64. I've been retired since about 64 or 65.
Well, you got hurt, huh?
Yeah.
What did you do, Oscar?
I was iron worker.
Iron worker?
High climber.
Construction? How long were you in that?
Oh, well, about 40 years, 45 years, somewhere over there. I worked on the water a few years out the islands.
Uh-huh. What island were you on?
All the Hawaii and Samoa.
Oahu and Hawaii?
Yeah, I was on the inter-island transport called Alcala. And they just went from Iowa. She's only 3,000 tonner round bottom, so you could get in shallow harbors.
Yeah.
And it watered like an old hog, too, when the waves got her. I went to Europe on the West Point, which is Liner America.
Mm-hmm. How long were you over there?
Oh, about a year.
A year. Okay, and then you retired then in 60. So how many children did you have? Any?
We had 8 altogether.
8 altogether.
Then 3 strays.
Three what?
3 strays.
What do you mean by that?
But who's the boy? One of the boys stayed at our place for a while. He was fire chief at Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah.
And then
Louise.
married Danny.
Louise.
Who?
Louise.
Yeah, Louise. She stayed with us quite a long while.
Mm-hmm.
And different times there was always somebody extra around there.
Yeah. Okay, Gidget, you're Oscar's daughter, right?
Right. Gladys.
Gladys.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you? Let's see. How many? He had 8 children too.
9.
Same as 9. Same as Grandma.
Yeah.
And she had 8. Let's see. Now, where are you? Are you the oldest? Or?
No. Let's see. There's Alice, Victor, Nona, and then I.
Yeah.
So that makes me the 5th one.
This one.
Then Judy.
Judy.
And he.
Well, what are you
Oh, yeah,
doing,
Jean.
Gidget, out there in Wyoming?
Oh, just surviving. It's been a long winter out there. You know,
Has it?
probably the longest in 10 years that I know of.
Well, what's your husband do?
Oh, he's a mason.
Yeah.
Builds fireplaces and
Fireplaces.
different stuff.
to do with brickwork.
And you're a housewife,
Sort of.
housekeeper?
Yeah, I clean houses. Really enjoy
How
that.
many children do you have?
3
Three?
and
What's
2
that-
grandchildren.
What's the children's name?
Rhonda and Noni and Lenny.
Oscar, what can you tell us about Grandma? You got any good stories you might, in your youth, when you was growing up, or just any time? Can you tell us anything?
Well, I can tell you about some terrible times her and I had.
Well, that's all right.
In the First World War, see, I can remember that. I was 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when they had the flu epidemic in Lawrence. And now they pulled the hearses, then they pulled them with teams, you know. It was like going day and night. Our whole family was down except Mom and I. And that's back when they burned wood, you know. And there's her and I out there.
No kidding. You got her on one side of that saw?
I was just a kid.
Yeah. How old were you?
About 6 or 7 years old. Buck saw. So you don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
We had to keep the place warm.
Yeah.
And,
so you had to burn, huh?
Well, that's all they did. I think downtown they had some gas. And then they had
was
carbide.
this in Lawrence?
Yeah, they had carbide lamps on the streets, arc lamps too. And some of the houses had carbide pits. They're just like a gas pit, which carbide is.
But you guys had kerosene lamps?
We had kerosene.
So those were pretty tough times.
But right at that time, the soldiers, you know, they're hauling them out there by the wagon loads. I think Lawrence, well, we lost a little daughter, Selma, little sister. I think it was a death in about, some families got wiped clear out.
Okay.
And I believe back then, I think there was every other house lost somebody. They didn't know there wasn't no medicine for it then at all. Yeah, I think we had our own well. I can remember. They come and tested our well. And right after that, we all got sick. I believe they called it the German flu. I think back on it now, as I got older, realize more. I believe that was German warfare.
Is that right?
You darn right, I believe it was.
Well, now, do you remember much about your dad?
Oh, yeah. You want to hear a funny one?
Yeah.
But, let's see, what was his name? Otley. He was a motorcycle officer on the old 40 highway. I remember building the 40 highway. He built part right on our place, the hill. We had huge trees in the front yard. That's all ranch. Big mulberry bushes out. He parked behind them mulberry bushes and watched the traffic. Yeah, Dad was plowing. And he come down to the end. I was following. And come down to the end, and he come around and going back to his listing, getting ready to plant corn. And that cop started the motorcycle up, and the team started running off, down and hollered, you know. He finally got him tied, but he went out there and run the police officer. Get out of my yard. He talked broken, you know.
Yeah.
You get the goddamn popper out of here and get on that highway going there.
He told him to get lost.
He better too, and my old man, he didn't crack down very often, but when he did, things moved. I'll tell you, Mother said she talked quite a bit of Irish, you know, quite a bit. Yeah. She said, some of you laddies would get to carry wood in, you know, stove wood, and us boys sit around there watching each other. And the old man read the paper word by word. He wouldn't talk Swedish except amongst his friends. He told us, and he'd teach us Swedish in the higher grades if we wanted to. He'd sit there, you know, we'd all sit and watch these. She was going to make a move, and Dad go. I mean, all of it was time to go, man.
Yeah. Well, I take it from that, the old man was pretty strict.
Yeah, he's a military. He's a Royal Hussar of the Queen's Guard. He rode with the Queen's carriage everywhere she went.
In Sweden?
Hussars in Sweden is the cavalry.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in the Royal Cavalry.
Well, he was an old army man.
Yeah, have we got the pictures with us? The good old hard bars.
No.
We had a sailor too.
How about your mother now? What was she strict too?
No, there's quite a bit of stories about Mom, gardens and balconies and Mansfields, but she got quite a bit of Irish. And Dad pure sweet out of Sweden.
I thought your
Never
mother.
heard of that argument. Not one.
I thought your mother was Welsh.
Welsh, well, that's
Welsh and Irish. Okay, what were you saying? She what?
No, I never heard that one loud word.
Is that right?
Not one.
Was it because your dad was pretty strict?
No, they just compatible.
They got along good.
He was strict with us boys,
Yeah.
in a way. But we run free. We was hunting and fishing all the time. I got fairly good grades, but I didn't go to school half the time. I had my trap lines to run. I made a lot of money trapping for we had mulberries, we had blueberries, all over everywhere. Us kids would go pick them down and made wine out of them, wild grapes. But I never saw him drunk.
He just drank wine.
Christmas time, they Yuletide in Sweden is 2 weeks. And I see them get together. That's the only time I hear them talk Swedish. They sing their sea tale. They call them segments. And they kind of chant and telling each other about different things they saw and they have to do about this. They were all under sail, no steam. And I'll tell you one funny one. He lost his pocketbook. That's the old time pocketbook, you know, the one about that long. Well, I found it. I was just a little button. You could get fried pies for a nickel. They had ice cream for a nickel. Well, he had some bills. That was old gold back then. You know. They were guaranteed to be paid in gold. The gold back code. Well, I didn't know too much about it, but I knew about that chain at the bottom. And I got off the gag and went down to the creamery where they sold ice cream. You know why us kids eating ice cream? And we went down to the bakery where they made them little fried pies. We each had a jelly pie or whatever they ordered. And Dad caught me. He said, "Babe," they called me Babe. "Babe, you see the pocketbook?" Well, I got it. I didn't know what wrong with him. He was so tickled, he grabbed me up and hugged me. He had his bankroll in there.
Oh, no kidding.
And he wanted to know if we wanted ice cream. It was already coming out over here. There was about 7 of us with roll buttons. These kids are boys I run with. Well, some of them lawyer's son. And buddy Gus down, his dad run the college jewelers there in Florence. And Tooey's dad was a lawyer, a famous lawyer, Ed Riley. And Gordon Elliott, his dad had 3 meat markets, you know. I think the funniest one of those when he run that officer out in front. I mean, he meant it. He had that whip. He had that old butt-end whip. He was going for him. Oddly run, shoved it out behind the bushes and run. They had a driveway kind of sloped down. He jumped on that son of a gun and took off.
Well, Gidget, how about you and Grandma? You remember anything when you was small that when Grandma come to visit you?
Oh, I remember lots of different gatherings. They were when she would come out for vacation to California, and we would be over at my Uncle Art's. And of course, as kids, we're always just out there playing all the time. And Grandma always just showed us lots of love, and I just remember her love. and we'd be out climbing the trees most of the time, you know. And Gertrude had peach trees, and we liked to be up in the trees most of the time. But I remember one time she came out to California, and I think it was 1966. I'm not sure, but I'd already been married and had one child, and we went down to the beach because someone, I don't remember who lived down there, but to meet her. And I remember we went and had a picnic, and she wanted to go warm her feet or just put them in the ocean, you know. And that she came all the way to California just to put her feet in that water so they'd be cured or something. You know? So we went out there, and they were kind of leery to let her run out there, but they let her go. Yeah. She was determined. And she went out there and put her feet in there, took her shoes off, and just... Yeah.
That's one of her favorite tricks.
Just to do that, you know. We just had a great time.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to have you folks here. And, what do you think of your mother, Oscar, 100 years old?
Oh, I knew she was going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell you, she's had some awful good care.
Yes, she has.
The 3 girls looked after her. Wonderfully.
I was so busy running around it.
They pay more attention to her than they do themselves.
Yeah. Alice told me over the phone, she said, we're going to keep an eye on her. Oscar, she said, don't you worry about anything. We're going to look after her, and they have.
Okay, we sure thank you. And
well, I remember one special time that everybody in the family remembers the times she'd bake and send us cookies for Christmas, and she would never forget to put a little rain hat for us in there, you know. And we just would be so happy to receive that. And one time they baked a whole basket full of cookies up, and you put your laundry in, just stacked up that high full of cookies. And I tell you, that was probably the best Christmas that we've ever had, you know. And just remember those cookies so much. They were so good.
Okay, well,
one special time.
Thanks a lot for coming over.
Well, I can tell you one thing. One trouble she had was she would travel by herself on a bus coming from California. I don't know whether it's to Lawrence, to that matters, but something happened to her stomach. She had to have an operation on it. She went down and they had to get her out. I think it was in Phoenix, and get her to the hospital there. I believe that she was all by herself, which she shouldn't have been. And she wasn't nothing age yet to somebody too. But I believe that's one part of the trouble that she had. Probably she'll probably remember.
Oh, yeah, I think she did. Okay, thanks a lot. Hi, Alice.
Hello, Uncle Bill.
Jerry.
Hello,
Tanya.
Hi.
Let's see, you guys come in from Oklahoma City, right?
Actually, west in a small town called Yukon. Not Alaska. Oklahoma City.
Oh, it's not up Alaska. That's in the United States.
That's what they tell me.
Alice, let's see, you're whose daughter?
I'm Oscar Swanson's daughter.
Oscar Swanson's daughter. And,
oldest daughter.
Oldest. You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest, yeah.
And how many children? I think he told us a while ago. What do you have, 9?
There were 9 in our family, yes.
Let's see, where were you born?
I was born in Bloomington, Illinois.
Really? How long did you live there? Where'd you move to?
Well, really, to tell you the truth, I don't really know how long we lived there. My father was an iron worker, and we traveled all over. We moved quite a bit. And we were in Illinois at times, and then we were in California, and I believe we lived up in Oregon. So we did a lot of traveling. Moving.
Jerry, what do you do?
Now?
Well, let's see. How about 40 years from now?
40 years from now? 40 years from now, I hope I'm still here like Grandma. I wish I was as spry as Grandma is right now.
I know you're a pilot.
Yeah.
Pilot here and pilot there.
Yeah, well, then, if that's the case, then you and I are the same club. Is that correct? No, I'm Alice's husband, at least I better be sitting here. And we've been married for 21 years. I was inducted into the family. I think I was drug in, really. I was just passing the house and they went outside and tackled me. She figured, well, why not,
Let's see, with that accent now, you're from up north.
I'm from Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Well, Canadian.
Everybody thinks I'm from New Jersey.
I thought there was something different about you.
Yeah, well, actually, the reason I came from Canada was that really we had such a hard time during the '60s in Vietnam. So many draft dodgers. It got so crowded I had to get out. It really got crowded. But really, we're here to talk about Grandma.
That's right.
And I first met Grandma. I guess she was about 79 or 80 years old when I first met Grandma. That was, she had to be around 81. And I said, boy, that lady's really up in age. And I have to be honest, ever since then, I was really dreading the day when we would get the ultimate phone call. And I said, it won't be long. And that's 21 years ago, and we're still waiting. And Grandma's still walking around. And she's still telling us stories.
Praise the Lord. Huh?
Praise the Lord, amen. But she's the type that once you meet Annie Swanson, you met a fantastic person, because she has welcomed me just like her own grandson. As a matter of fact, I walked up to her this morning, and she before I said a word, she said, "Is that you, Jerry?" I said, "Yes, it is." And of course, Grandma, she's gonna give you a hug.
That's right.
And she did. Of course, I questioned Grandma a little bit about past history. I'm more or less a past history buff. I love, to pick somebody's brain like Grandma, so to speak. She got a lot of information.
Tanya, you're going to school?
Yeah, I'm a sophomore, 10th grade, high school.
How do you like it?
It's okay, I guess.
What do you think about your grandmother?
Oh, gosh, I think everything of her. I haven't got to see her as much as maybe a lot of y'all, but I've seen her quite a few times. And like I was sitting with my dad listening to her this afternoon. She's talking about Daniel Boone and how she had to learn about him in school. It was really interesting. Listen to her.
That's great. Alice, can you tell us anything about Grandma?
Well, especially the way that I got to know Grandma. We moved so much and we traveled through and we saw her here and there. But Grandma took us all in and let us know that we were loved and cared for. And without being with her day by day, that didn't really matter, because she sent letters. She sent gifts. And just like Gidget was saying earlier, when you are a family of 8 and things are not always, you don't always have a lot, those gifts were like gold to us. They were precious. We thought we had received the world when we received the basket of cookies or the aprons or any other thing. And the day that my husband and I got married, it was kind of a quick thing, and Grandma pulled an apron out of somewhere. I don't even know, and a little mitt that she had made. I have many handmade aprons at home right now. I never cease to get comments and compliments on Grandma's apron. She has I don't think she can see very well, but she has a way with colors and her quilts. She is she has left so much here. And I always can remember in her letters, she would tell me things that happened in the past. She would encourage me. She would encourage me to know Jesus, to walk with him, to love him. She would encourage me, tell me how I could make it. She would always tell me, God never puts anything more on you than you can bear, when I was going through hard times. And so maybe I didn't get to spend all this time with Grandma, but I just feel like I did. And I just feel like when Grandma goes, if she someday that she should pass on, Grandma's just going to go to sleep, and I'm looking forward to the time that I can be with her forever. I believe she's going to go to heaven, and I just can't wait. she's so spry now. I can't wait to see her. I mean, she'll be jumping all over heaven. That's another thing about Grandma. I appreciate. She's given us a longevity. You know, I really believe we've inherited that. I've never been sick very much, and I believe it comes from her because she hasn't either. And I rarely have any pain or anything, and I just don't have to go to the doctors and have medicine. And I believe it's an inherited thing. So I love Grandma. I think she's the most fantastic woman I've ever met. I believe that she's raised children with real color. They have personality plus a lot of things that my father is and did for me when we were growing up. There was a lot of color in it. You know, there was taking us out to the desert to see the desert flowers bloom and things that are really unusual. And I think it came from Grandma because she's a very unusual person.
Well, in your contact with Grandma, did you got any stories that you might tell us?
Well, I really the time that we went to the beach and I was with Gidget that day, and she did think there was something in the water. She said, if I can just put my feet in that water, it's going to heal them, you know. And she did take her shoes off and go out into the water.
She wanted to go mountain climbing with me.
Yeah.
Here she was going up through that rock. I had to go up and get her out.
That's Grandma.
I remember that up there.
Oh, and also, when I was real little, I have two grandmas, of course. I've got Grandma Swanson and Grandma Annie. And the way I identified my grandmas, I called Grandma Annie my grandma, my glass grandma. She wore glasses and my other one didn't, so she was my glass grandma.
That's great. Okay, we thank you a lot, and we hope you have a good time while you're here.
We sure will, Bill. Appreciate the invite and everything come down. Of course, we'd have come down anyhow without the invite.
We'd have broke.
Hi, Sue. How's everything going? Paul and Elaine. What happened to Greg?
Well, Greg had to stay home. His school's having a school play this weekend.
School play?
Yeah.
What is he? Wants to be an actor or something?
No, he's in charge of their sound.
Really?
Yeah.
He's the only one who can do it.
Well, there's a team of them, and he's the head honcho there.
Let's see, now you're, whose daughter?
Catherine.
Catherine, and you're the only child.
Yes.
Okay. See, Paul, you're from out in Kansas somewhere, right?
I'm from Foria, Kansas. That's right.
Is that a good place?
It was when I was there.
Been back lately?
Not for a long time, no. No, my folks are living in Topeka now.
Oh, they sold the farm?
Yes.
How they like that?
They're living in a retirement village, Methodist retirement village, and they're getting on real well with it. It's a very good place for them to be.
Elaine, you going to school? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
And working too?
I just decided to work during the summers because the times conflicted, the class time and the working time.
What are you taking up?
Medical records.
Medical records. Kind of in your mother's footsteps?
Kind of. I do the...
See, Sue, you were a medical
technologist.
Elaine, what can you tell us about Grandma? Anything?
Well, great-grandma was always very interested in children. I remember that.
Yeah.
And she always took time out to play with us, and always showed us her quilts and always showed us whatever she had sewn or done.
She did a lot of quilts.
Yes, or pot holders or whatever happened to be what she was doing.
I know when the girls get together down here in the basement there, they get on those quilts. They got Alice and Kay and Betty work on the quilts and Grandma supervises.
Uh-huh.
But I never forgot a birthday or anything like that.
Yeah, she never forgot birthdays.
Well, see, I remember years ago when they lived over on Paseo, and grandmother, of course, was younger, that they lived just a few blocks from the church, and they had quilting circles where grandmother, when I'd go over to visit, maybe I'd be staying with them, we'd walk down to the quilting circle on Thursday, I think it was, and of course they did hand quilting, the whole group of them, and we'd take a little sack lunch. I always thought it was a real highlight because it was so different than anything I did, and all the ladies would sit around and quilt and talk, and they turned out some beautiful quilts. And then we'd have lunch
around noon, and it seems to me they had like a little prayer session or Bible study too, combined with it. It was an interesting day. Yeah. So she's been quilting a long time.
Yes, she has. Well, now, she stayed with you quite a while, didn't she? You remember much about when she stayed with you?
Well, of course, I was a young child then. I don't really remember. I just remember she's always been there, close. I mean, I can't remember the times when she wasn't living with us compared to when she lived nearby. Yeah. She's always a close part of the family and in and out a lot. And so all my growing up days, she's always been there. Mm-hmm. And I think back and I don't picture her any different as far as the way she looks. Mm-hmm. She always looked the same all those years. And of course she has changed, but she's always just been grandma, you know.
Well, I think most of us have a tendency to take her for granted, you know, and because she's there and she does everything, you just expect it. How about you, Paul? What are you doing anyhow? Tell us something about yourself.
I'm on the faculty at St. Louis University. I teach marketing, and we've lived there in St. Charles now for 15 years.
15 years.
I met, first time I met Grandma was when I was dating Sue. I think it was about 1960. Probably around winter or fall of 1960. And so that was about 23 years ago. And she was still very energetic and spry and intelligent. And seems very much, you know, the same today. Still very alert and knows everything that's going on and can converse and talk about almost anything.
Lane, you want to say anything more about her?
She's just, I remember her the same way she is now, like Dad said. Yeah. Only back then she was more able to get down and play with us more, and when I was little, and was physically more able to do things, but mentally she's the same. She's still very alert. You know.
Okay. Sure glad you guys come in and from St. Charles, right? Mm-hmm. Missouri. I've been to your house up there. Pretty nice place. And hope you have a good time.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Eleanor and Carly Ray. How are you?
Just fine. We had a wonderful trip down here, and so glad to see everybody.
Yeah. Did you run into any bad weather?
No, it was just beautiful all the way down.
Great. Well, what do you think of Overland Park?
Well, it's nice. I don't think I'd want to live here, though, because I'd be lost.
Well, now, out there where you live in Montana, you still live in the same place?
Right.
Boy, that's kind of out in the boonies, isn't it?
That's what everyone says, but it's been my home always, so I've always been there.
Yeah. Well, what do you do about transportation and stuff?
I just have my car. And
you drive it clear into Jordan?
Yes.
Is Jordan the closest town?
Yes, it is. It's about 15 miles as the crow flies.
Yeah. 15 miles. I know when I pulled in there, I had a tough time finding your house.
Yes,
hadn't been for that mailbox
out there. That's true. But we're used to it, you know.
Aren't the winters pretty severe up there?
Lots of times, but this winter was mild. We did have 50 below zero weather in December, but
everybody.
Yes, it was everywhere, I guess.
Well, how about you, Carly Ray? Do you live there too, or do you live? Where do you live?
No, I live in Walla Walla, Washington.
Oh, Walla Walla.
Yeah. We've been there about 5 years now.
What do you do? What's your husband do?
Well, we are in the grocery business. We have a small mom and pop grocery store. And I'm the butcher and the baker, that type of thing. I also work part-time at another store just to fill in hours.
Yeah. And your husband, he works in the store too?
Yeah, he runs the store when I'm not there, and I run it when he's not there. He works out part-time also.
How many children do you have, Carly?
We have three
children. The oldest is 23, and he's been through the Coast Guard and is home now. He's working full time and really quite active. And our 19-year-old daughter is in college and works part-time at the county courthouse in the clerk's office. And our youngest is 17, and he's still in high school.
We're here to celebrate Annie Swanson's 100th. What do you think of that?
I think it's the most marvelous thing that ever happened, and she's my favorite mother-in-law.
I wonder why.
I don't know. She has been a mother to me, all the time. So.
She's really a nice woman, no doubt about it. And did she ever come out there to Jordan and visit you?
Yes, she was there twice. She was there in 1946, and then in 1962 she was there. But Carl was real sick then, so it wasn't too happy a time, but we did enjoy having her.
Can you remember any good stories about Grandma that you might tell?
No, not really, I guess. It's just, she's just the most marvelous person in the world, that's all.
How about you, Carl?
I think my first memory of her is when she came out and visited, and at that time she was making little stuffed animals and sewing them all by hand and everything, and she made those for us, which we'd never seen anybody do that before. And then she went out and played baseball with us, or tried to teach us how to play baseball, and we, when you grow up on a ranch, you don't even know what baseball is. And which we thought that was kind of strange that she wanted to fill our time with doing things like that, but she was used to kids playing in that way.
Sure.
And probably one of the other real memories is when, I don't remember the year, but she came out and spent about a month with us. And Daddy was changing some fence up in one of the pastures, and my sister and I and grandmother went up on a tractor and a trailer. And she just bounced along on that old flatbed trailer, and she wouldn't have missed it for anything. And she worked right along with us. If Daddy put down the pliers when he was working on the fence, she picked them up. And if he put down the hammer, she picked that up and was going to use it. And she just enjoyed every minute of being there. But out there in her dress, out in the middle of the sagebrush and cactus, and working right along with it,
Sounds like her. Eleanor, how many children did you have? Did I ask you that? How many children did you have?
I have a girl, 3 girls and a boy.
3 girls and a boy. Let's see. Selma, Carly Ray,
Walter, and Delphin.
Walter now. I remember him when I was out there. What's he doing now?
He's just working at a filling station now in Yoder, Wyoming.
Was he in the service for a while?
Yes. He was in California quite a while, and down in was it Red Sands or White Sands, New Mexico. He was down there a while.
Well, do you still have the antelope out there?
Oh, we just have antelope, and deer are just overrunning the country.
Is that right? You need some hunters out there.
Well, there have been lots of hunters, but I don't know. They just they get right in the haystacks.
Do you lease your property out or anything?
Yes, it's leased.
Do they raise crops or what?
No, just strictly cattle.
Just cattle. Mm-hmm. How many acres now?
Well, it was 600.
600 acres.
We had more than that. We had over 1,200 acres, but then we sold part of it. The rest of it was...
Well, truthfully, I don't see how you stand winters up there. I guess it's just what you get used to.
Well, I grew up there. Well, so did the kids, So you just take it because it's there, and you don't complain about it because you can't change it anyway. So you don't know anything. Live with it. Right? You don't know anything different, I guess.
Okay, we enjoyed having you and talking to you, and hope you have a good time while you're here.
Well, thank you. And it's just fabulous. That's all. It's nice seeing everybody again when it's been so many years, and a lot of us were young, or some were just little kids at that time, and everybody's so grown and so changed, and
Time passes.
Boy, sure does.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And I was a little late. Oh, thanks.
Well, yeah.
Not today.
You met her. Yeah, we met last night.
That's your baby? Sorry.
I got to see Lena. Almost too late. I've been using my camera so well. We need to put some ice cubes in this. I think we'll.
You know, I didn't see it.
Grocery store, another grocery store, out where I had to get my hand, and I had to get pictures developed. It's like you're trying to make me look bad. Well, I always have. There, now you got it. Hi, Sandy. How you doing? How are you? Stranger? Never did that, and I'm not good at it.
Hi, you're on candid camera.
What do you know, Gene?
Not a thing.
I'd rather be on a golf course.
I would too. I agree with you.
Lady can't see. She thinks she's got blue spots in her eye.
Oh,
A lot of flashlights going on, just like.
Say something funny, Gene.
Reading jokes to people. Do you see the lights flashing when they're all taking pictures? Yeah. Surely they're through. Oh, they need to close the door over there. Well, they surely hated it. Dolphin was already, he's made a dress. I said, Dolphin even made a dress. Oh, she couldn't stop her.
Kevin, what are you doing?
You talking to Sue?
Linda?
Yes.
This is my sister-in-law. Maybe.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yes, a lot. You're all scattered all over.
Having a ball.
Well, I think she's really enjoying herself. The camera that's in her old film.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
She had it. Well, I think we will.
Picture of the bouquet. That's all right. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Gotcha. That's bad. Hello. Oh my.
This is my wife. This is Marilyn. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grandma. Happy birthday to you.
I got a story I
He just got out of a pretty serious operation, but he's in good shape now and walking around. His wife Marie, and that's their son Chucky. Over here is my sister Bonnie.
Yeah, isn't that nice? There we go. No, don't worry about it. I'm having a good time.
Back again. We're changing minds. We don't know that you're going to.
Oh, hammer there. Ham and egg. Look at it. Oh, golfing buddy. Jim, wife Mark. Church people over here coming over from Grandma's church. Presbyterian. Yes? How you doing? It's such a wonderful day. You know how these Swansons are. They can do
Want me to
things
hold that
fast.
one up?
The light didn't go off.
Charlie McGee, my brother-in-law, over there trying to figure out who's here. Hey, Charlie, what's going on? Nothing? Turn around here, you.
Hi, my name is Craig.
This is going to be.
Lift it up.
Oh.
You can't see it yet.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, alive.
Isn't that cute?
Box, Mama.
Drop it.
It's a music box.
Yes.
Grandma?
Turn that whole bottom.
Isn't that?
No, Grandma, you have to look here. Yes.
She's old.
Hello.
Can you hear it?
But if she touches this part, it stops going.
Tanya? Yes, Tanya. This is Fred and Glenna Swearingen. They live right next door to Grandma. Hope that break the camera. We have Marva Lee and Bill and my other daughter-in-law, Linda.
That's a good school. He did get his license.
And he was going to. No, he was bringing his papers to fly over to there trying to fly this weekend.
What a cute couple. How you doing? Hi, Marv and Bill and Amy and Scott. How are you today?
Fine.
Okay, good deal. You guys are from where? Marv Lee, we'll start with you.
Well, we live in Russellville, Arkansas.
How do you like it down there?
Beautiful, beautiful.
So you've been there how long?
3 years. We
3
just passed our
300.
Bill, let's see. You're
1,000 more years.
your dad and mom are who?
Bill and Betty Converse.
Okay. And you have 2 children, and
This is Amy. Scott.
and Scott. Let's see, Bill, what do you do down there in Arkansas?
I'm a nuclear engineer at a power plant down there.
How do you like it?
It's a living.
Bill.
You want to tell us anything about your work?
I'm a supervisor of 4 engineers, and it's exciting. Lots of different things to look into. Take care of.
You guys drove up yesterday or the day before?
Thursday.
What is it, about 300 some miles from here?
I think it's about 360. Made a world's record 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours. Pretty good time. Marv, let's see, you were originally from where?
My home is in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And my parents still live there. And I met Bill when we were going to college at Kansas State University. And we've been married 10 years.
10 years.
How about that?
Been quite a few places
Yeah.
in 10 years, haven't you?
Mhm.
What are some of them, Bill?
See, we started out in Manhattan, Kansas, in a one-room apartment. We moved to Gaithersburg, Maryland, then to Richland, Washington, on the other side of the country, then to Auburn, Nebraska, and finally Russellville, Arkansas.
Okay. Amy, are you in school?
Yeah.
What grade are you in?
Second.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
How about you, Scout? Are you in school now?
Uh-huh. Kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
And I like it a lot.
Do you? What do you think of your grandmother? Your great-great, is it great? Great-grandmother being 100 years old, Scotty.
What?
What do you think of your grandmother being 100 years old?
I'm proud of her.
Do you think she looks 100 years old?
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Amy?
No.
You
She
don't-
looks about 80 something. She looks real young for 100.
Can you tell me any stories about your great-grandmother? I mean, has she given you anything that... any
She's
present?
giving us a hug.
A hug? She giving you
Well,
lots
we
of
haven't
hugs.
been around her very much. So we don't know very much stories about her.
Bill, you got any stories about Grandma you might tell us?
Well, the one story that I had planned to tell was already told by you. The story of the first shooting baskets out behind our house on Mackey. Other than that, the thing I remember most is kind of a collective story. It has to do with the fact that when we were growing up, she would play games with us all the time. I mean, I spent a lot of time with her, probably with her more than any grandparent I had, because she would live at our house for a while and stay for weeks at a time when she came to visit. She would play games with us all the time. She'd play three-handed bridge and all kinds of strange things. And now that I'm an adult, I realize that maybe that was probably not very exciting for her, but she still was willing to spend the time with us, her grandchildren, which I think is important. And that's, other than shooting baskets at the age of 75 or 76, that's the memory that I have of her.
How about you, Marv? You remember anything about Grandma that you could tell us?
Well, one thing that really impresses me about her, well, there's two things, is that even with her poor sight and poor hearing, she's still piecing quilts and crocheting doilies, and she makes and hems aprons for Amy and I. And it's always a real treat when Christmas rolls around and she's knitted or crocheted doilies. And I have doilies underneath all my lamps and underneath all my plants because she loves to crochet. And this Christmas she made an apron for me and an apron for Amy. And the apron for Amy is smaller, and it just really is special. And so every time we put on our aprons that match, we think of Grandma. And then the other thing that impresses me about her, and the thing that I remember about her is that she just is always interested in everything. And she will ask Bill about nuclear energy, and she'll talk about something that she's seen on the television, and she just cares and is alert and is always interested in things. And I think that is really special and makes her a neat person. And I just love her.
Bill, what do you think about some of your cousins that you hadn't seen before? Are you kind of surprised about some of them?
Well, I'm surprised that we all got so old so fast. But mostly the thing I see when I look at their faces is to me, the faces of their parents are more clear in my mind, and when I look at them, I see the great resemblance, say in Cynthia, and not so much in John Henry, Jim's children, because they don't look much like their dad, to me anyway, but the others look a lot like the parents who I remember better. One other thing I wanted to mention was the dolls that you have downstairs here, those boy and girl dolls.
Yeah.
I was remembering when I watched Scott playing with those the other day that Sue and I played with those same dolls, and they were made by grandmother, and that's what she was doing then. And over the years, the things that she makes have become simpler and simpler, but she still hands them out to everybody and gives them away. The work of her life, really.
Yeah, when you can't see what you're doing, it's kind of rough making anything. Do you remember any of the times that she'd come visit us while we were in the Navy? Any of the different places, like San Diego? I know she was there, but
I guess I don't remember them particularly because I probably can't even remember where I was particularly.
How about
but I do remember that we saw her a lot.
Yeah.
I remember her waiting in the very chilly Atlantic Ocean in Maine when none of the rest of us would take off our shoes. She was out there waiting.
that water was about 55 degrees, but she didn't care. She had to get those feet cured.
She had corns or something when we get in the salt water.
Salt water was good for corns. Well, any other thing you remember about her? Anybody?
She looked pretty today.
Mm-hmm.
She really did.
She's having a ball.
And she's having a good time. She's enjoying it. Well, we want to thank you all for coming up. And we hope you have a good time while you're here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. How's that thing look?
Howdy, folks.
Hello.
You're the first prune pickers. No, I think I had some prune pickers on here before. I don't remember.
Transplant.
Anyhow, Christy. That's Christy, right?
Right.
Sharon. Alan. And Stacy. You guys are from where, Alan?
California.
What part?
Well, Southern California is the only part that's important. That's
Southern? You mean San Diego?
No. Whittier, Los Angeles.
Okay. Is that a good place to live, Whittier?
Well, it's the only place we got. So that's it.
It's got to be a good place.
Yeah.
Christy, you going to school?
Yes, I am.
What grade?
I'm in 10th grade. I'll be a junior next year.
Be a junior next year. How do you like it?
I love it. High school's fun.
Yeah. What do you plan on taking?
Right now I'm differing between business and English. I'm enjoying those classes.
Sharon, what do you do besides house engineer?
House engineer.
I know you're a good cook.
Gee, thanks. I, chauffeur for Chris.
Yeah.
For about another week.
Probably a full-time job.
Of course. Other than that, I just run around and get in trouble. That sounds terrible, doesn't it?
That sounds pretty good to me. That trouble part, anyhow. Alan, you're a physician, I think.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you specialize in, anyway?
Yeah, I'm a heart specialist.
Heart specialist.
And I chase around, pick it up after her.
That's the hard part.
When she gets in trouble.
Let's see, you went to school in where? In California?
In California.
Yeah. What college?
Yeah, I went to UC Riverside, then UC Irvine, trained at the county hospital, the veterans, in Long Beach.
Is that where you are now?
No, we practice in private practice in Whittier.
Okay, sounds good. Stacy, I know you are working.
I work full-time in a medical laboratory as a clerical secretary, phlebotomist, things like that. Basic office work.
Okay, you know we're here for your grandmother's 100th birthday. What do you think about her, about your grandmother, Stacy?
She's a joy.
You know any stories that since she visited you or anything that you can tell us?
Oh, I love to hear her recount stories of my dad when he was young. Things like that. Trouble.
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 What kind of trouble?
Oh, I don't know.
He didn't get into any trouble. He's perfect.
His dad was telling me that I tried to get his dad to tell me something about him. He said he was a perfect little kid when he was little.
Because he's just like him. That's why.
Look at him now. Look at that innocent face. You can tell.
Yes.
You can tell that he's perfect even now.
Yeah.
Alan, what can you tell us about Grandma?
Oh, yeah. She's one thing about her is that she's never changed. In all of my life, she's gotten a little thinner, but she's always been the pleasant, gray-haired, solid little gal that she's always been. My first memories of her are so similar to the way she is today that it's really pretty uncanny. I can remember times when we went to the beach together. She just loved the sand and walking through the sand. And yesterday she was telling me about since I was a perfect child, of course, some of the things that I did that she didn't say aggravated her, but when she babysat for us and that sort of thing, like trying to pull the license plates off the cars, stuff like that. She's just been a really solid, steadying force as far as my life is concerned.
I know she visited out there with you quite a bit when you were a kid, didn't she?
Yeah, she sure did. Yeah, and that's what
she tried to get to all the kids' houses.
Yeah, she was a fun lady and still is a fun lady and an attentive lady, and just fun to be around. She's been a part of my life for as long as I have memory. She never changed.
No, Sharon, you haven't been in the family that long, but can you tell us much or anything about Grandma?
She's just a delight. She's just we just enjoy talking about her. We enjoy sharing all the things that we hear about that she does, with our friends. And it's just a thrill to be here to help her celebrate 100 years. It's just a neat thing. How many people do you know that that are 100 years old? And she doesn't look it. She's very young looking, I think.
Alan, what do you think of these cousins and these, I guess, great cousins right down the line that you haven't seen? What do you think of some of these?
First of all, I'm impressed by how so many of them look like all the rest of us. There's just all those characteristics.
You got two eyes.
Yeah, right. No, they all look like Swansons and whatevers. There's all those common physical characteristics and their attitudes about things. And it's been many, many years since I was able to really put names and faces and people together. And I haven't been disappointed a bit. They're all successes and they're all enjoying their lives and coming together.
Sure seem to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Christy? Well, how about Grandma? What do you think?
I think she's the greatest. She's never changed. She's always been just real sweet. I remember when I was about 5 years old, I think it was, we went out to have some dessert, and she ordered a cherry pie. And then she took the little sugar sacks that come, and she opened it up and she poured it on top of her cherry pie, the whole thing. And then she just sat there and ate it. I think that's something I'll always remember about her.
Well, I got you captured here, Doctor.
Yes, sir.
I've always heard that sugar is bad on a person. Now, I've seen Grandma put 6 teaspoons of sugar in 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah.
She loves
now,
sugar.
What's the scoop on that, man?
Well, it's obvious that she's stronger than the sugar.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Stronger. Yeah. That's a good answer. I mean, I didn't pay for it, so.
I don't know. She's got incredible heredity, and she's just an incredible kind of a lady.
You know what that means, don't you?
Yeah,
you got it.
You betcha. Well, that's one of the real benefits, the real perks of this thing, because with a lifeline like that, I just hope that if I'm alive at all, I hope I'm, got her kind of memory and her kind of pizzazz.
Boy, it's fantastic.
We were talking about things like she remembers Knott's Berry Farm out in California when it was just a wide spot in the road. And I can remember when she started to ask about those places, you know, I can remember them being that way historically. But she remembers it all.
Yesterday, Alan told her that Stacy was 22, and she said, "Oh, I thought she was 21." And Stacy is 21. It's father that doesn't remember how old she is.
And she proceeded to tell me when her birthday was.
Yeah, he said, "Well, her birthday's in the middle of the year." And she said, "Oh, I thought it was September." It is September.
Yeah. That's what sugar does. You see. Preserves your memory.
Gives you a good memory. It's just hard on your ears and your eyes. That's all.
all right. You got to wear out somewhere.
Right. One thing at a time. Yeah. Okay, guys, it's been enjoyable talking to you guys.
It's fun talking to you.
It's been a thrill having you here from California. We're
Yeah, we love your weather.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, but I don't work for the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah.
I'm glad you don't, because I feel bad.
You'd have had snow instead. Okay. Anybody got any other stories they'd like to tell about Grandma?
The really good ones, we're just going to keep secrets. We don't want to tell any secrets.
You're going to put it on your tape.
No.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys. I sure appreciate it.
Aren't these lovely spoons? Lovely. Nice bread. Oh, and look at these.
You want to get a shot of me dishing up some?
Yeah, get a shot of him dishing up.
Ever since I started eating these beans, now.
I thought you were sick.
He is, believe me, he's sick.
What's in this?
Hey, Jerry.
French fry out.
And so you can start to eat now. Well,
Do y'all say grace?
I'd have said it. I don't see her for the Now all you have to do is
and take a picture. We went out to eat and come back through the mall, and you got to sit on Santa Claus' lap. Kay took your picture, you and Aaron.
Yeah.
But all you folks do now, you work all the time.
Yeah.
You have a ticket?
I'm going to come back and give you like
I broke his second round.
They have tornadoes down there on they do up here.
This birthday
birthday card that you're looking at here is from Washington, D.C., signed by Nancy and Ronald Reagan. They sent it to Grandma for 100th birthday. After you take a good look at it there, I'll pick it up and read it. This card says, the White House, Washington. We send our heartfelt congratulations. May your cherished memories be a happy reflection of the fullness of your life. We are proud to share this memorable occasion with you. Happy birthday and God bless you. Signed, Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan. It's got the President's seal on it.
Practice a little bit, you said. They said.
Okay, this is Lena and Nina. Nina. Lena and Nina. And they are nieces of Grandma. Now, let's see.
I'm the oldest of 15, first cousins, and she's the youngest.
Now, you're Aunt Mary's daughter.
Yes,
and Jesse's daughter, right?
I'll be 82 next May.
And how old are you? We want to tell
I'll
your
be
age?
60 in June.
Hey, you're a youngster.
Just a baby.
Okay, now you're from where, Lena?
Now, Fairfield, California, where Travis Air Base is.
That's up by San Francisco.
We're 40 miles from San Francisco and 40 from Sacramento.
All right. Nina, how about
Portland,
you?
Oregon.
Portland?
Portland.
How long have you lived there?
12 years.
12 years. What are you doing? Are you working or?
I'm a custodial matron in a high school.
Okay. How's the weather up in that neck of the woods?
Wet.
Is it wet all the time?
No, it's beautiful. It really is.
I bet it is. We've been up there, but not very often. I think we've been up there twice. It's beautiful both times. How about up there where you live? You have a lot of fog?
We had quite a bit this winter. We don't always, and we had lots of rain from October to, I guess, the 1st of March almost. And then March was unusually warm and sunshiny. And then we had, a few cloudy days, but nothing to hurt. We really need rain when I left there.
We don't need it here. You can tell that.
Well, we do.
Well, Lena, now your mother and Annie and Jesse, they were kind of separated when they were kids. Do you know anything about that?
Well, my grandmother and grandfather separated when my mother was 7 years old. And he took the children. It seemed, now, the story as I get it, grandmother had no way of taking care of them financially. And he took them, principally, I think he thought by doing that, he would get her back. He never did quit loving her, that was obvious. But anyway, he seemed to be a rover. He traveled around too much, and she didn't like to move. She liked to be in one place. So then, when he took the children and left, and he thought that she would follow him, she didn't follow him that time. She stayed with her father, which was Mr. Beasley. And then later, she married Mr. Mansfield, and her comment about him was that he always stayed at home. And
she wanted somebody to stay home.
Yes. Well, then the children got separated. I don't remember too much about Aunt Jess. What happened with her? I think that she stayed with some of the old family, didn't she?
Beasleys. Some of the
Beasleys. This would have been grandfather, my great grandfather, you see, and I think there was 2 old uncles or something there. The way that I remember what Aunt Jess has said. But with mother, then, he farmed her out with a family named Thompson at Barry. Now, Barry, Missouri, was a little village that was older than Kansas City. And these people lived on a farm there. And Mr. Thompson had been a general in the Civil War. I don't mean general, colonel. I believe it was colonel. And then mother lived with them there from the time she was 9 until she was 14.
And Mrs. Thompson died, and her oldest daughter came there to live, and Mother stayed on with them until she was 19. Now, this picture that was in the book there today, and Nina brought one down here like it, was a picture of my mother and her mother and Aunt Annie and our grandfather. My mother was 19, and Aunt Jessie was 17, and Aunt Annie was, it said, 15. There was 5 years difference between my mother and Aunt Annie, but this may have been the difference in the birthday. I don't remember when her birthday was. But you see, that could be 15 instead of calling her 14. But anyway, I think he had the three of them together at Excelsior Springs with him for a while. And then, well, my mother, I think she got married when she was 21. And I don't remember about Aunt Annie or Aunt Jessie.
I don't have any idea.
I
have records of it, but
I think I was about 6 years old when Aunt Jessie got married. I think I was.
Well, that's real interesting. You gals, did you get to see each other much once you got separated?
No. You mean Nina and I?
Well, and Annie.
Well, Aunt Annie stayed at Lawrence, Kansas, and my mother lived at Gashland, Missouri, which is 10 miles north of Kansas City it's the Oak Freeway. Is that the name of it?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, you come from Kansas City out this Oak Street, and you come to Gashland, but it isn't called Gashland anymore. It lost its name when they moved the post office and they took it over to Antioch. And my mother and father lived on a farm, and Aunt Annie lived here in Lawrence, and she had this large family and worked awfully hard. They didn't see each other too much, but occasionally they visited.
Well, I know Annie was talking about they had picnics when she lived, I believe, somewhere in Missouri.
Well, now,
And they had, every 2 years, they had picnics where she saw Mary and...
I don't know about, never heard that before, but Aunt Annie was taken by a family named Liggett. I guess you spell it L-E-G-G-E-T-T. And she was 3 years old at the time, and it seemed as though they had lost a child. And they were very anxious to have somebody about the age of their child would have been. And she was very well loved, my mother always said. They may have been very strong and disciplined, but then, anyway, she was raised to be a little lady. And, well, that was the big thing about Aunt Annie, I think. And then when we went back there, Betty was talking a minute ago, when we went back there, when Bethel Church had their 100th anniversary, and we took Aunt Annie to where she used to live, and she named every farm, named the people that lived there, and everything. Of course, after you're raised in the country like that, you get to know them, but she remembered them since she was a little girl. But you see, when you live in the country, if you've ever done it in the rural country like we did, you know everybody's up and down the road. You know the name of their milk cow. You know the name of their dog and cat, and their workhorses.
Yeah.
You really did.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I lived in the country, and I was the same way.
Uh-huh.
I knew everybody, and everything was out there.
Yes, well, you do. And so I can understand why she knew that, but to think she remembered it, well, 60 or 70 years.
Yeah.
That's a remarkable thing to me.
And she remembers names and everything else, people that lived around the house. And she was telling about this first car this guy bought. She said there was only 2 people in Lawrence that had cars, and she named the guy that had one of them. But now, Annie, she's 100 years old. How old was your mother?
She was 92 when she died in...
she lived a long time.
71. She was born in 1879.
Yeah.
But today, I took Aunt Annie a card for my sister-in-law, and in this card, my sister-in-law was laughing with Aunt Annie, and she said, "Do you remember when we picked up seashells at Seal Beach in California?" Aunt Annie just chuckled, and she went ahead and described that day very vividly, and about the shells and what the shells looked like, and that we had taken them home, and we heard a noise in the kitchen, and the milkman had come in, and he was down on his hands and knees looking at the shells we'd brought. Now, I don't remember that, but she did.
Well, how about Aunt Jessie now? How old was she?
She passed away at 85.
85? All those girls had lived quite old age, didn't they?
Well, Aunt Jessie had a cancer, and she was at my house and spent the winter, a few years before that anyway, and she had a cancer on her face. And I took her to the doctor, and he took that off, gave her treatments and everything. So then when she was in her last stages with this cancer on her breast, the doctor that she had, Dr. Pollock, and I told him about her having this other one. He said, it's too bad you didn't have her breast examined, because in all probability that had started at that time. And so anyway, that was what took her at 85. Other than that, she was hale and hearty. And Aunt Annie was too at that time.
Well, she still is.
Yes, she is remarkable.
She's in good health now after she had that last operation. Of course, that was pretty serious. You know,
I know, but then it's remarkable.
It is. Well, she's had awfully good care, you know, with these girls over there every day. And even when she was in the hospital, they were over at the hospital every day. The nurses didn't have a thing to do. Well, can you tell us anything else? Do you?
Me, I don't know.
I know you're new around here.
Well, I tell you, the one to get the information from about the past of the grandmother and Grandpa Reddish is Kay. Now, Kay took me to Lawrence, or I was in Lawrence, and she met me and took me up to what had been the Grandpa Beasley's home. And she told me the different stories that she had learned through the years and everything about it. And she had a very clear understanding, really, of the financial situation as to why grandmother let the children go, the little girls go. Now, my mother never did forgive her for that. How she could let 3 girls get away from her.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Well, Kay said she just couldn't make a living for them. She was working. Now, I couldn't be wrong about this. You'll have to ask Kay. I think Kay said she was getting 50 cents a week. Well, how could she take care of 3 little girls and everything? So it was a matter of finance with her on that.
Unless she got married again or something, you know.
Well, she got married, I don't know how long after. Do you remember, Betty?
No, I have no recollection at all.
Well, now Kay might give you that information as to how long it was that she was a widow before she did remarry. But we have a copy of the divorce.
I do. I have the original.
Do you remember what the dates were on it?
No.
You're a lot of help.
And you see, another thing about a divorce in those days, that was unheard of, and it was very shocking. And
well, wouldn't it be shocking for the man to take the kids too away from the mother, unless she just give them up, I suppose?
Well, she did give them up, and as I said, my mother never did forgive her, and my mother couldn't understand how she could give them up, and then of course my mother couldn't understand her ever marrying again after she had been married, you know, because she was one of those that was married once, and that was it.
Okay, we enjoyed talking to you, and we're sure glad that both of you could come back to the birthday and everything. So have a good time while you're here.
We're going to.
Okay, from my left, we got Jennifer, Linda, Jim, and Kevin. Start with you, Jim. So you guys are from where?
We're from Oklahoma City.
How long have you been down there?
A little over 9 years now.
You must like it pretty good.
Yes, we do. It's become our home.
Yeah, I've been down there visiting, and I like it too. It's a little windy, but it's windy every place.
Some of us are gifted with the gift of wind.
Yeah. What are you doing? What kind of job are you in, Jim?
I'm a district sales manager for the Mastic Corporation, and
I travel the states of Arkansas and Oklahoma and extend as far as Amarillo, Texas for the company.
On the road quite a bit, huh?
2 or 3 nights every week or 2.
Would you like to be on the road?
It's starting to wear just a little bit.
Know what you mean.
That is a loaded question.
Linda,
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk? Okay.
Under the giggle. Yes.
I understand you're going to school now.
Yes. Jim said it's time for me to do my fair share and go to school.
What's your plan?
I want to be an elementary teacher. And so it'll take me a few more years, and then I can help out with my part.
What do you mean a few more years? More than 2?
Yes, more than 2, but less than 10.
You're just You're just taking part time then?
Because I have to be a few other things besides a student, so I have to balance out my time.
And there's a little bit more than just doing our part. We made when we decided to have children, we decided to make a commitment. And that is that if I had to work the road or be in the Navy or whatever it was going to take to make a living, that I would do that. And Linda would see that the children were properly cared for. And she stayed home and she did that. And now that Jenny is in 6th grade and Kevin is in 1st, it's time that Linda can go out and start extending herself. She's working part-time. And as the children continue to grow, and in many ways, she can go on and finish her schooling and be prepared for what lies in the future.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Jennifer, your dad just said you were in what grade?
6th.
6th grade. How do you like school?
It's okay.
Be going to junior high next year?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Kevin, you're in the what?
1st.
1st grade? You think you'll pass?
Yeah.
Jennifer, you know any story you could tell us about Grandma?
No. Not right now.
Not right now? Did she?
Can't think of one.
Huh?
I can't think of one.
How about, did she give you any presents, like clothes? How about you, Linda?
No, I have a lot of favorite stories about Grandma. And probably my favorite one is about when we were first going together. She would invite Jim and I over for lunch, and she'd make us sandwiches, and she thought horseradish was mayonnaise, and she would spread them real thick with horseradish, and her eyes would just run while we would eat those sandwiches, but we'd never say a word to her. And they were just so tasty and like that. And I think the neatest part I've noticed this weekend in meeting all the people is all the years she's told me about all of them. When I saw them, I knew it was them. They didn't have to tell me who they were. She had, painted such a visual picture of them, and I knew right away who those people were.
What did you think of all the different cousins and grand cousins and ex-cousins?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Nice family to be a part of.
Yeah. How about you, Jim? You've got a lot of stories, I know.
Well, Grandma has been rather old and white-haired ever since I was a youngster. And I guess if she's 100 today, when I was born she was 65, so that ought to mean something to you. But I remember things like even at 65 and 70 and 75, she, as an active young boy, which I do believe everyone will agree I was, she entered into everything that was going on. If it was a basketball game, she was out there in the middle of it and could not be held back. And
That's true.
Those are vivid recollections. On the 4th of July, if we were throwing firecrackers, she'd have a handful of them. She taught me how to play many card games. Something that I think is really wonderful about grandparents is she had and took the time to spend with me that helped make me the person that I am today. That's one thing about Grandma is that she did take the time, and she always seemed to have a great personal interest in everything that we were doing. both my brother and myself.
That's really nice. Let's hear a little bit more about yourself. Then. I mean, I understand you got a pilot's license now. And you got a sailboat too. What about the sailboat?
Yes, we. When I was in the Navy, part of the officer training was to spend a couple of days on a sailing vessel, and it took almost 3 years before I had the opportunity to learn how to sail. And so while I was still in the military, they had a program where you could get certified as a skipper of a sailing vessel. So I did that, and then, of course, got out of the military. We moved here. We worked for Burn Siding Supply in Omaha, Nebraska for a year. And then we, just shortly after Kevin was born, I started working on Linda to get a sailboat. By working on Linda, that meant that I would start spending my late afternoons watching all the sailboats coming in at the lake, which was just around the corner from where we lived. And one day we just brought a sailboat home. And however, when it comes to flying, I don't think it'll be quite that type situation.
Do you think you'll buy a plane?
This is going on the record.
I don't think we'll buy a plane, no.
Just going to join a club, maybe.
Unless Linda requires it.
Unless Linda drops over dead tomorrow.
Well, Kevin, you've been up in an airplane, haven't you?
Mhm.
How'd you like it?
Fun.
What did you think of it, in your own words?
It was fun.
It was fun?
Mhm.
Were you frightened or anything? Or
Mhm.
would you like to go again?
Yeah.
I know. Would you like to learn how to fly like your dad?
Mhm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I know someone else who'd like to learn how to fly.
Jennifer, you went up too, didn't you?
Mhm.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was fun.
You know, I think if y'all would let Grandma get out of the house, she'd like to go.
You mean you'd take her up?
You bet I would. And she'd want to steer.
I bet she would.
Couldn't see where she's going, but she'd want to steer.
She'd want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other stories you might, how about Jim? You were with us, Grandma visited us a lot when we were.
Oh, I remember going to many bus stations, and I had never heard of Greyhound bus system until she started visiting us in California and everywhere. And yes, she visited us a lot and got very active in a lot of our family dealings and affairs. And it's just interesting, you know, just ever since I've been a very, very young child, she's been a part of the family and still is. Just very interesting, and she's very much of value to us. We have things like, I travel quite a bit, and Linda recently, I don't know if it's in my latest car, but in the wintertime she wants me to travel with a quilt or something in the back of the car in case I get caught somewhere. And so the quilt, of course we have quilts all over our home, and Grandma's responsible for virtually every one of them. I do have one vivid story I want to tell. It's very, like I say, I've been with the company almost 10 years now. And when we heard that we were being transferred from Omaha to Oklahoma, and of course, whenever we come to visit, we sit down and she would have her speaker or whatever, and you'd take the time and you'd have your conversations and things. But as soon as she heard we were going to Oklahoma, she told me a story about when she was a very young girl, and her family, or at least the people she was with, were traveling across Indian Territory of Oklahoma on a buckboard, some sort of a horse or an oxen drawn.
Springboard, spring wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well I remember it was drawn by horses or something like that, and she was riding somewhere on this affair and crossing a lot of the rivers, which are very sandy down there and very wide, and most of the year there's no water in them. But she said, now Jim, when you travel in Oklahoma and when you cross those rivers, She said, "Watch out for the quicksand." And I thought for a moment, and I just let it go, and I said, "I certainly will." And to this day, every time we come up, I kind of remind her of it, that I'm still looking for the quicksand. She said that the horses that, or at least one of the horses that was hooked onto this the springboard, actually got caught in this quicksand, and the rear end, the entire back legs of this horse went underneath the surface. And whoever the gentleman, or whether it was her father or whoever she was with, had to physically grab a hold of the neck of this horse and try to keep it from floundering clear into the muck of this thing. And finally, the horse finally got a grasp on things, got its front hoofs up on solid ground, and they retrieved the horse and continued on their way. But apparently that recollection to her was real vivid, and I got a feeling if I live to be 100, I'm going to remember the quicksand of Oklahoma.
Yeah, I imagine so. Well, Linda, I understand you're writing a paper on Grandma. Can we have a little preview of that? Coming attraction?
Coming attractions. I had the honor of getting to hear her life story, and I thought it would be very interesting. The two ladies who just talked before us, Nina and Lena, were telling a lot of the same story that I had heard about how Grandma was given out to a foster home. And she told how growing up with the Lagans was a little very strict. And she had a lot of chores she was demanded to do. But told how the lady, she called her Aunt Annie, had taught her how to quilt. And by the time she was 13, she had pieced 2 quilts together. And she said that though when she got married and raised her children, she didn't have fabric and she didn't have time, so she didn't get to quilt. So this is something she's come back to later on. And pretty much it's the same story that the other ladies have told, but I found it really fascinating. And she remembers everyone's name, how old she was when everything happened. It's truly a remarkable thing.
Great. We'll be looking forward to when that comes out. Maybe give us a copy.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we certainly do thank you for coming all the way up from Oklahoma to our birthday party. And we hope you have a good time the rest of the time you're here.
Thank you, we are.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you gals right here now. I'm going to talk to Heather first. So you're Heather, right? What's your last name?
Heather Ann McCall.
McCall, and yours is?
McCall.
First name?
Lillian.
Lillian, okay. How old are you, Heather?
6.
6? Let's see, that'd make you in first grade?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
Because her birthday is December 11th.
Oh, I see. She's just missed it, huh? What grade are you in, Lillian?
3rd.
Okay, your parents are who now, Heather?
My mom and daddy. I'm telling you.
What's their name?
Jerry.
Huh?
What's daddy and mama's name? Mommy. Alice and Jerry.
Alice and Jerry. And you guys come up from where?
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
No, Yukon, Heather. Yukon.
Lillian, how far is Yukon from Oklahoma City?
About 15 miles or so.
15 miles?
About that.
Is there anything you guys want to tell us about Grandma? Great Grandma? Nothing? No? You got anything, Heather?
I like to stay with Grandma a lot of times because she's my best grandma.
Oh, she is. How about you, Lillian?
She's nice.
She's nice. What else you got to say?
She's really a nice lady. I like her. Even I like talking to her on the phone because I like talking on the telephone.
Do you talk to her on the phone?
I talk to her and have the thing that you're supposed to talk to her with. Because
Oh, you mean with the speaker? Okay. Do you like that too?
Okay, you kids having fun up here? Do you like the food?
Yes, really much. I can't eat no more.
Do you like how about the weather? You like the weather?
Yes, it's
Okay.
raining.
Well, have fun now, and we'll talk to you later. Okay?
I want to watch my TV.
I'm Art and Gertrude's daughter, Cynthia, here from California, Anaheim, near Disneyland. And we've been having such a good time seeing everyone and seeing the whole family together for the first time in my life, really. Grandmother, I have a lot of things that I remember about you. I think one of the most fantastic experiences of my life was when Bill and Betty came into San Francisco when I must have been around 3 or 4 years old. Mom and Dad told me that they had this wonderful surprise for me in San Francisco, and we went up to a hotel room. I can remember it very clearly. I can't remember much about the hotel room, but inside the hotel room was my grandmother waiting for me, and I can still remember that big flight of stairs and walking in and seeing grandmother there and how excited I was. And one of the other things that I remember is when you were staying with us down in Burbank, and my girlfriend that lived right next door, she and I were the same age, and her grandparents were in Sweden, and she had never seen her grandparents. And when she heard my grandmother was coming, she just couldn't wait to see a real grandmother. And we went out into the backyard. You had been there for 2 or 3 days, and my mom and dad overheard us arguing about whose grandmother you were. And I kept insisting that you were my grandmother, and she kept insisting that you were her grandmother. I don't know if we ever settled out whose grandmother you were, but I knew you were mine. One of the other things that I've laughed about so many times was the story you told about Karen, my other girlfriend on the other side of the street, when she had learned how to square dance, and she came bebopping into the house, and she wanted to teach you how to curtsy, and you asked her, how did she learn how to curtsy? And so she showed you. And you got up and you said, is this what you mean? And you curtsied, and your knees went pop. And she looked at you, and her eyes got really big, and she says, yeah, that's just right, except you're not supposed to pop like that. And we've laughed about it so often. I went home and told Karen the story after you told it to me back here 2 years ago, and Karen remembers you so clearly, and she did say to tell you hello, which I never got a chance to do. Now I'd like to turn the camera over to my son, Craig, your grandson, your great-grandson.
Great, yeah. How you doing, Grandma? I'm really glad to have a grandma that's 100 years old. That's pretty hard to find. And very fortunate that you are my grandma, and I am really glad that I know you. I mean, that you're part of my family. You seem to be the limelight of this whole family. You seem to be, everybody goes around you. And if you're in a good mood, it seems like everybody's happy. And that's really nice. You know, that shows you that everybody cares about you. And it shows that there's a family unit that everybody hangs together. And I noticed that, and I'm proud of that I'm part of that. You know. And I'd like to turn it over to my dad.
I, being probably one of the newest members of this gigantic family by my marriage to your granddaughter, am very, very impressed with the entire family, not only by its large number, but by the warmth and close association that I see from all of you. It's a very touching thing to see that type of a family unit, especially in today's world. I think that if more of this was accomplished throughout the country, we would probably have a heck of a lot less strife and problems that we all seem to be facing today. You, as the center of this family, grandmother, have impressed me deeply. Number one, your sharp mind, your clear, positive attitude about everything is so very impressive to everybody around you. I think that you have done a marvelous, marvelous job in the family center that you've made of yourself. I noticed that everyone is very, very concerned with you as a person, not only taking into consideration naturally of your age, but also actually who you are. And I think it's something that everyone that's associated with you has to have a sense of pride in this very thought and connection. Thank you.
Okay, Don, Cynthia, and Craig, we're sure glad that you got to come, and we hope you have a very good time while you're here.
Oh, we did.
We did.
We had a wonderful
Thank you very
time.
much.
Be back soon.
Hello, Bob and Sandy. How are you?
Howdy.
Did you guys bring this rain from California?
Absolutely not.
No, it's not our fault.
Now, wait a minute. I heard it was raining when you left.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, it hasn't moved. The same rain.
Okay, Sandy, let's talk to you first. You guys are from where in California?
Mission Viejo, Orange County, California.
Yeah, I know it's a beautiful place. I've been there. Want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, we just moved there in November of last year, bought our own house. We've been living in a condominium up till then. And we've enjoyed an awful lot of company, an awful lot of Bob's side of the family as well as mine since then, and including yourself and Betty just a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
Okay, Bob, what can you add to that?
Well, we're happy to be here. We were really looking forward to coming out here for Grandma's birthday. We managed to get a little bit of time, take off the time to come out here, and we're just delighted to see all the family. We were really, what amazed me was all these cousins, you know, that I haven't seen, and just, we were all about that tall, or, you know, it was years and years ago that I saw any of the cousins, so it was fun to kind of catch up, and we discovered that some of them just live a few miles away from us, so we'll be seeing more of them in the future.
Bob, can you tell us a little bit about your job, what you do?
Well, I work with computers. I started last August working for Cray Research, which makes super fast computers, and I work around with those to help out the users, write programs, and take care of the software angle of that. I've been doing computer work for about 15 years, so I'm in a rut.
Sounds very interesting. You're in some kind of business, aren't you, Sandy?
I own my own business in Orange County, California, and we manage condominium associations. And we've been in business for 6 years now, and we're making money, believe it or not.
Great.
And when you work part-time means you only work 10 hours a day.
That's right. Part-time's 10 hours a day.
Bob, what can you tell us about Grandma in the past? Some things that's happened, anything?
Well, no, but I can tell you something I saw yesterday that just tells it all as far as me and Grandma is concerned. I was sitting there behind her, and she was talking with all sorts of people on her talking machine, and this one, the young fella comes up, and he gave his name to her, said, "I am so-and-so." She said, "Oh, yeah, huh?" He said, "Well, you know," so, and he gave his name again, a little louder, a little clearer, you know, and she said, and he said it again, real clear this time. She said, "Oh," she said, "you're having a birthday coming up soon." And I said, "Oh, that mind is a steel trap. She's got every birthday, and you know, when she finally figures out who you are, she knows exactly when your birthday is, who you're married to. She's an amazing lady."
Do you remember anything as a younger fellow, you know, when the family was...
No, a long time, and she visited us when we lived in Pomona a long time ago, 30 years ago, but I don't remember an awful lot. You know, it was... back then, I couldn't keep straight who was in the family. You know, I had all these cousins and everybody, I just didn't know who was who. So now I'm much more interested, and now I'm trying to remember who everybody is. But well, like I said, it's fun right now just seeing everybody. That's the important part.
Have you been down to Bella Vista?
Yeah, Sandy hasn't, but I have. I went down there. Oh. It's been a long time. My brain done. I forgot.
4 years.
I'm too old. Yes.
maybe 5 years, Bob and I were just starting to go together, and he went back for Thanksgiving.
I'm glad you remember this because
And the first Thanksgiving we were going together. He went to his family, and I went to mine for Thanksgiving.
yeah, I went down to Bella Vista and saw the folks, and we had Thanksgiving dinner there. Mike was there, my brother, and then we came up here and saw everybody in Kansas City.
Sandy, I know you haven't been in the family too long, but what do you think about Grandma and all,
I think she's
all these cousins?
well. I was not very fortunate with my grandparents. My grandfather on one side passed away the week before I was born, and by the time I was just in my early 20s, all four of my grandparents had passed away. And I think it's just marvelous to come into a family and be welcomed into a family where there is 5 generations of family. And this has been one of the most exciting weekends of my life. I'm just thrilled, and I love you all.
Well, we're sure glad, and we love you too. Bob, you got anything you want to add?
No, I think Sandy says it all.
Okay, we want to thank you for coming and hope you have a good time while you're here.
Well, thank you for letting us
Yeah.
share this and be a part of this documentary.
Okay. Good evening, Grandma. Here we are again.
Yeah,
How are you this evening?
just fine. 2 minutes sooner and you'd found me in bed.
I thought maybe we got you out of bed anyhow. Well, what do you got to say for yourself?
Well, first I just want to say thank you to my wonderful children. They give me such a lovely, lovely day. And that everybody got together the first time ever. So many of us. 48, I believe, in all.
Was there 48 people here? Do you think there was 48 people, relatives?
Alice had it down on that piece of paper.
Uh-huh.
But that includes everybody, all of us.
Uh-huh.
But,
How was it seeing everybody?
wonderful. Well, I just don't know. It was just simply wonderful to see everybody.
Was there anybody there that you hadn't seen at all? Was there anybody there that you hadn't seen?
Wait a minute. Well, I think maybe some of the children, some of the little ostrich children, I don't think I'd seen them. But I think I'd seen everyone else.
Well, I want to ask you.
Of the children. Now, there was some of the church people I didn't, 1 or 2 that I hadn't seen.
Yeah. Probably quite a few friends that you hadn't seen for a long time, huh?
Yeah. I hadn't seen, I don't know, it's been years since I'd seen all of them.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of your birthday party as a whole?
I thought it was a wonderful thing. And just, well, I just loved every minute of it.
Did the grandchildren tell you any stories that bring up any stories of what happened a long time ago or anything
Well,
that you can think of?
Well, Alan, I talked with Alan, and one time we was going up to Hollywood on the bus, and we didn't go the same street that you do when you drive the car. It was unfamiliar to him, and he just pipes up and says, "I just bet we're on our way to Florida."
on your way to Florida.
And we went to a circus one time, Al and I, and that was fun. I didn't know whether he'd get thirsty or not. He was a little fella, but he was so spellbound while he saw. He didn't just sit real still all the time. And he was in a class being taught by singing from an old gentleman. He had 75 people and children among them. And at Christmas carols, they all went down to a big church in Los Angeles, and Jim and Jane and I went down to listen to them, and that was a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
See,
I want to ask you something, Grandma. Do you actually feel 100 years old?
no.
You sure don't look it.
I feel pretty good. Most of the time. I was kind of sleepy tonight.
Well,
in fact,
I was too.
I went to sleep while I was listening to the news.
How do you like your new cover there on your TV?
It's fine. It's fine.
Does it enlarge the figures and people there, everything?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
I have to reach down in there because I can't see those numbers very well. I forgot about that.
Yeah. You sure got a nice room up here.
Thank you. I think it's lovely.
And I like your robe too, nice and red and green and all kinds of flowers on it.
Yeah.
Really stands out.
Yeah.
There was a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you in our last interview, and I'd like to ask you right now about those. Did you make soap when you were a kid? You know, did the family you lived with, did they make soap?
No, they didn't make it. But there was a man by the name of Pendergast made sorghum. He made the best sorghum of anyone that ever made.
Sorghum.
It was delicious. But we always had syrup. I don't know where it was made, but we always had syrup on the table.
Well, what did you use for soap? Did you buy soap?
Yeah.
You know, to take a bath with. Soap.
Oh, we had laundry, not laundry soap, but
bath soap?
And, what is that?
Naphtha?
No, it was
Lye?
No.
Well,
there's soapweed. What is that?
Soapweed. I don't know. We didn't have that when I was a kid. My dad and I made soap.
Oh yeah.
Out in a big black.
Oh yes, we made soap, laundry soap.
Yeah.
We made that, but this other was I think it was Siemens.
Siemens.
Made of soapweed.
Soapweed. Huh? Well, that's interesting.
It's just a little white bar. Well, you can buy it in the store today.
Did they make hominy when you were a kid?
Yeah. Some people did. We didn't, but others did. And we went home with a little girl from school one time, and on the table was a great big crock of hominy, and we had hominy and bread and milk, biscuits and milk. That was our supper. And we went to another place another year, and they had a great big bowl of rice, and that's what we had for supper: rice and milk and biscuit.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Like we just come in and dip it up on our plate and eat, and then run on out and play.
How did you keep your meat, in those days, back then? You didn't have refrigerators. Did you have an ice box?
No, that was only pork, and Uncle had a great big piano box, and he laid it down, and in the bottom of that, he spread salt and brown sugar. He mixed brown sugar in it, so it was sugar cured. First, he would put the hams, which was the biggest, heaviest, put that in. Then he put more salt over that layer of hams. One year, he killed 7 head of hogs. So he put the salt over. Then the next layer would be the shoulders. They were heavy, too. And he put salt over them. And I'd see him dip into the sugar sack every once in a while, or stir it in. And then the next would be the side meat, we call it side meat. Then we cleaned the heads, the heads, scraped them and cleaned them, and cooked all of that. Took that meat all off and made it into head cheese. That was good. And the backbones was made. We cut them out, cooked them, and all of the trimmings. They had a great big tub of trimming, and that was sausage. They'd mix up sausage, and sometimes they'd have great long cloth sacks, about so big around, put the sausage in there, hang them up and smoke them. After so long a time, I don't know how long, that meat was taken out and all the salt and stuff was brushed off of it. Then it was hung up in the smokehouse, and you had to have a hickory fire, but it couldn't blaze. It had to smoke. Just fill the smoke and smoke the meat.
That was mostly pork, huh? There wasn't any beef?
No beef.
Where's the beef?
Well, there was only one man in that neighborhood that had Ice House, and he had a beef club. And anyone that wanted beef, he'd kill a beef once in a while, not all the time. He had pork too. But he had a place in that Ice House down in where he could go down in and hang that beef and keep it cold. No, they had beef, but I didn't like it.
You didn't like it anyhow.
No, I like pork.
I don't think beef's too good for you. Do you?
Beef?
You think beef's good for a person?
Beef?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
A lot of cholesterol in it.
Well, there's more, I don't know. More than pork, I guess.
I suppose so.
Because the pork was, the fat above the backbone was great big thick like that. Up on top of the backbone.
Okay, did you have any pets when you were a little girl?
No.
Like a dog or a cat or?
No. Well, we did have had a bird for a while.
Yeah.
But that's but not a parakeet.
Canary.
Canary. It sang.
Yeah. You know, I was raking the backyard this evening, and I raked across a little depression in the yard, and there were 6 little baby rabbits in there, and they all run out.
Oh, for goodness sake.
They were about 4 or 5 inches long. Betty said they'll probably die because they are not big enough, but I think they are big enough. I think they'll be all right.
Oh.
Did you have many rabbits when you were over there, Missouri?
Oh, yeah, there were lots of rabbits. But there were squirrels. Now, once in a while, they'd go rabbit hunting and come in with a bunch. But they got squirrels quite a bit. Yeah. There's lots of squirrels.
Okay, is anything else you want to say about your party?
Well, it was just wonderful. Food was also good, and it's just good meeting everybody.
Are we going to have another one next year?
Yeah. I'll be there.
You remember the time you told my dad that he was just a youngster? What was it you told him? You know, you're about 8 years older than he was. Of course, he's been dead for a couple of years. Remember you told him, he said, well, you're just a youngster. Remember that?
I don't remember that.
He got a kick out of it. I know you told him he was just a youngster.
I don't remember that.
Okay, we're going to sign off now. So if there's nothing else anything else you want to say?
Well, I think that's all.
Okay.
It's lovely of you having this tape made.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I wanted to hear all of it some of these times.
Well, don't worry, we'll play it to you.
I want you to look at the books with the pictures and cards, and Alice has them downstairs. And my church book, they're just lovely.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go down and get them and take a picture of them.
Oh, that's fine.
What do you have there, Grandma?
What?
What is that?
The guest book.
That the guest book?
As they come in, they sign their names.
Oh. Well,
As each one, a big visitor come in, he signed his name.
uh-huh.
Like they do at a lot of places.
What does the cover look like? Oh, it just says guest, okay. And then everybody's signed in, huh? You got a lot of names in there.
Yeah, I can't see them.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's the guest book. Now, what is that one? That's for photos? Here, let me help you with it. There it is.
Now, this is the birthday card book, and Alice put them all in. She did a beautiful job in putting these cards in.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Oh, they're just.
And she's got them all in there and who they're from. Yeah. Mhm. And then.
Can you get that one?
Who is that?
Well, that's old pictures.
Who is it? Do you know who it is?
Yeah, the children.
Your children?
Now, I can't tell you who they are, but Alice has had them a long time.
This looks like Betty here when she was in high school.
Yeah, that's right.
This is Kay.
Yeah.
And Alice.
Yeah. I can't see them myself, but this is hers.
I think this is you up here, isn't it? Is that
well,
you?
I think so. Is that all?
Okay.
Is that?
Now, we got another one. What is it?
This is a church book.
Oh, I see.
The presbytery.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what all these, I can't see but anyway, the presbytery, and this is the names.
They signed it. Everybody signed that, didn't they?
This is the names of the members of the Presbyterian church at Raytown.
Uh-huh. Oh, you got Reagan's card in there, too.
There's my president's card.
Are you proud of that?
Yeah. This is just cards that.
Cards and pictures.
Alice put everything in, and I think she did a wonderful job.
She sure did. Who was the telegram from?
Mike Swanson.
Oh, Mike Swanson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What does that say? The first 100 years are the toughest. Now you can relax and enjoy. The letter follows.
Just pretty pictures.
Uh-huh. That's real
She's
nice.
got all. She's wrote the names who they are.
Uh-huh. Those are real nice.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Grandma,
Well,
we're just about out of tape.
Well, then it's.
And so